Chapter 1670. Jianqin chuckled when he saw newbies rush in hastily. He said, "Newbies, you don't want to live a glorious life in this world with your two beloved concubines, but you want to go to the saints' world with me to live a life of bloodshed. Why bother? You should know that even with my strength, I probably won't be able to establish myself in the saints' world. A life of bloodshed is the most wonderful life in the great newbie's heart, because only then will it be filled with challenges. Jianqin, I've made myself very clear. If you want to go to the saints' world, don't leave me here alone. Otherwise, I, the great newbies, will never accept you as my brother," said newbies. Excitement and eagerness filled his face. Clearly, he yearned to go to the saints' world very much. "Oh, right. I heard that only Origin Realm experts can pass through the tunnel to the saints' world. I'm not even at the Origin Realm yet, so you have to think of something for me." "Just don't leave me here alone," said newbies. He and Jianqin were friends who had gone through thick and thin together. They were brothers who had gone through trials of life and death together, so their relationship was extraordinary. As a result, he spoke very casually, unlike the other Holy Emperor who treated Jianqin with respect. "All right, since you insist on going, I'll take you with me to the saints' world." Jianqin could only agree to take newbies with him, although newbies' current strength was rather weak in the saints' world. His rate of progress would be incomparable to this world once he went to the saints' world where origin energy was abundant. Afterwards, Jianqin went to visit a few old friends and bid them farewell. It would probably be 10,000 years or even several tens of thousand years before he would return. The Holy Emperor only had 10,000 years to live, so his old friends might be gone by the time he returned. Although the origin energy of this world was gradually recovering, and there was a good place for cultivation in the world of forsaken saints, reaching the origin realm would not be easy. Soon after, Jianqin found Hao Wu in a deserted mountain. At this moment, Hao Wu had entered the Holy Emperor, but he had turned into a white-haired old man. He had left Zarkayun and was cultivating alone in this deserted mountain. Jianqin had mixed feelings as he looked at the wrinkled, white-haired old man in front of him. This was because this old man was his father-in-law. After Jianqin explained that he was about to leave this world, Hao Wu fell silent. Only after quite a while did he sigh gently, "Jianqin, I hope you can take good care of Mu, or after you go to the saints' world." "I will," Jianqin swore. After chatting with Hao Wu for a while, Jianqin bid farewell and left. He then arrived 1,000 kilometers away from where Hao Wu cultivated. There was a mountain peak that reached into the clouds, and there was also a small wooden hut on the peak. A beautiful woman in a violet dress sat on a rock in front of the hut. She stared into the distance in a daze as undisguised sorrow and longing filled her face. She was the ancestor of the Tsar family in the city of God, Zarkayun. She had left the Tsar family many years ago and no longer paid any attention to the matters of the Tsar family. She had always lived in seclusion on this mountain. Aside from cultivation, what she loved to do the most was stare blankly into the distance. This was because that was where Hao Wu lived. 1,000 kilometers was originally only a single step for Zarkayun, who was a holy emperor, but to Zarkayun it was the end of the world. Jianqin hovered in the air as he stared at Zarkayun. Mixed feelings filled his eyes, and he gently sighed before leaving. Zarkayun did not sense Jianqin's arrival at all. In the end, Jianqin paid a visit to Tianjian. Tianjian had used the saint's fruit to become a holy emperor, and Jianqin had gifted him a violet cloud peach. His strength had skyrocketed once again, and he was now at the 8th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. He was one of the peak experts below the origin realm in this world. Jianqin had a long conversation with Tianjian before pulling out a white pelt from his space ring and shoving it into Tianjian's hands. This was the pelt of the ancient winged tiger. It recorded Mo Tianyun's way of slaughter. The origin realm experts of this world had tried to comprehend it several times, but they had failed in the end. After a few cycles, it returned to Jianchen in the end. At this moment, Jianchen gave the pelt to Tian Jian solemnly. This was because the way of slaughter had been left behind by Mo Tianyin in the past, and Mercenary City was the foundation that Mo Tianyin had left behind on the Tianyuan continent. As the great elder of Mercenary City, Tian Jian was perfectly justified in inheriting the way of slaughter. As for whether he could successfully comprehend the way of slaughter, that was another matter altogether. Although Jianchen had considered giving it to Shangguan Aojin, Shangguan Aojin possessed the innate chaotic body. He had his own path to walk, so giving the pelt to Tian Jian would be more meaningful. After bidding farewell to Tian Jian, Jianchen went to the supreme divine hall that Mo Tianyin had left behind in the past. He took away the unconscious Kea as well as the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast that had always guarded Kea silently. Jianchen was powerless to do anything about Kea's situation right now, so he planned on taking Kea to the Saint's world. He hoped that he could find a way to awaken Kea there. Afterwards, Jianchen went to the Saint's world and found the 4 brothers who were cultivating there. He asked them whether they were willing to go to the Saint's world with him. Jianchen, the 4 of us don't want to go to the Saint's world for now. We plan on cultivating in the world of forsaken saints for some time. We'll go once our strength has increased, said Ada. Jianchen nodded and said nothing more. He turned around and left. 3 days later, all the origin realm experts of the 2 worlds arrived on the Tianyuan continent. This was because today was the day that Jianchen and the Spirit King were going to leave. Everyone had come to send them off. On the Tianyuan continent, aside from the origin realm experts, there were many people from the Holy Emperor, as well as many people that Jianchen was familiar with. Tian Jian and the remaining elders of Mercenary City, Tianmu Ling of the Tianmu clan, and the 2 old men who used to follow Tianmu Ling, Huang Tianba of the Huang family, Qin Shao of the Tianqing clan, Qin Ji, and the imperial protector of the Qin Empire, Quan Yukai, and Kara Livy of the Radiant Saint Master Union, the experts of the Turtle clan from the Sea Realm, the Hall Master of Poseidon, the Evil King, and so on. In short, all the people that Jianchen was familiar with, as long as they were still alive, had come. Even the 4 brothers of Ada who cultivated in the world of forsaken saints had specially come. Changyang, who stepped out of the Pure Heart Pavilion for the first time as well, to send off Jianchen one last time. However, in his eyes, it was very difficult to see brotherly love. There was only calmness, as well as a little bit of emotion mixed in. Jianchen's heart ached at Changyang's change. His current elder brother was no longer the elder brother of the past. Xiang'er, you have to come back alive. Don't forget that your father and I are still waiting for you here. Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba said to Jianchen with tears in their eyes. They were filled with reluctance. The 2 of them understood that this farewell could be eternal. Brother, I'll always be waiting for you here. Don't forget that you still have a sister. If you don't come back within 10,000 years, you'll probably never see your sister again. Bai Lian cried as well. She sobbed at Jianchen. With her talent, becoming a holy emperor would not be a problem for her, but reaching the origin realm would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Father, mother, you have to be careful in the saint's world. If you don't come back within 10,000 years, I'll personally go to the saint's world to find you, said Shangguan Aojin. His voice was filled with determination. He was not joking when he said that he would go to the saint's world by himself after 10,000 years. If it were not for the fact that he was worried that he might not be able to find his parents in the saint's world, Shangguan Aojin would not have needed to wait for 10,000 years at all. Jianchen, you have to come back. Yu and Huang Wan both teared up. They were filled with sorrow. This farewell would be a farewell of life and death. At this moment, the bright moon divine hall flew over from afar and gently landed on the ground. Soon after, the door to the divine hall opened and Fairy Haiyue's voice rang out. You 4 haven't reached the origin realm, so it's impossible for you to survive in the tunnel. Come in, the 4 of you. With that, Ruijin, Honglien, Blackfish, and newbies all walked out and entered the Divine Hall with Fairy Haoyue. Passing through the tunnel won't be a smooth journey. If you're unlucky, you'll come across some danger. I suggest that aside from the Spirit King and Jianqin, everyone else enter my Divine Hall to ensure that nothing goes wrong, continued Fairy Haoyue. Xiongzhong immediately became unhappy when he heard that. He said, I don't think your Divine Hall is tough at all. With my strength at reciprocity, am I not as safe as your Divine Hall outside? Let alone you, a mere reciprocity cultivator. Even if Jianqin passes through the tunnel with his current strength, it won't be as safe as staying in my Bright Moon Divine Hall. It's just that the price I have to pay to return to the Saints' world alone in my current state is just far too great, which is why I have to go with you, said Fairy Haoyue coldly. Everyone could hear the disdain in her voice when she mentioned the Origin Realm. Xiongzhong no longer dared to say anything. Instead, he glanced at Jianqin. If Fairy Haoyue had not compared Jianqin to him, he definitely would have believed that Fairy Haoyue was spouting nonsense. With his personality, he would never have let the matter rest. Yet now, Fairy Haoyue had actually said that even Sovereign Jianqin would not be as safe as her Divine Hall when passing through the tunnel. Her words clearly showed some disdain towards Jianqin. He wanted to see Jianqin's reaction. Jianqin rubbed his nose and smiled embarrassedly. Fairy Haoyue is the reincarnation of a great expert from the Saints' world. Since she's saying that, there's a reason for it. All the people who want to go to the Saints' world should enter the Divine Hall. Jianqin had never been able to figure out Fairy Haoyue's background. Even with his current strength, Fairy Haoyue still seemed unfathomable in his eyes. Chapter 16, 71. The eyes of the Origin Realm experts from the world of Forsaken Saints immediately narrowed when they heard that Fairy Haoyue was the reincarnation of a great expert from the Saints' world. Their expressions all changed. Xiongzhong, who was rather displeased with Fairy Haoyue, no longer dared to say anything. Shen Jian's gaze towards the Bright Moon Divine Hall changed as well. From Fairy Haoyue's tone, he could guess that Fairy Haoyue was probably quite a powerful expert back in the Saints' world. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for her to boast like that. No one refuted Fairy Haoyue after this small incident. Afterwards, the Origin Realm experts from the two worlds all entered the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Even Xiongzhong and Shangguanmu, who were at reciprocity, were no exception. In the end, only Jianqin and Xinjian remained outside. Although the world of Forsaken Saints had many Origin Realm experts, not many of them were going to the Saints' world this time. Aside from Xiongzhong, there were only 4 returnants elders. The other Receival protectors had all chosen to stay behind. Since everything is ready, let's set off right now. Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out. Clearly, she was rather eager. She was extremely worried about her father's safety, so she wanted to return to the Saints' world as soon as possible. Hold on, Jianqin suddenly said. Afterwards, he took out the Radiant Saint artifact and removed the crystal coffin that held Kea. Surprisingly, there was also a small beast the size of a fist lying on the ground. Fairy Haoyue, please place my friend with you. I think it'll be safer with you than with me, Jianqin said. The appearance of the crystal coffin immediately attracted the gazes of all the Origin Realm experts present. However, their gazes were not focused on the coffin. Instead, they stared at the fist-sized beast lying on the coffin. They all shivered inside because they could sense the powerful presence of an Origin Realm expert from the beast. The main reason why Jianqin did not place the crystal coffin in the artifact space was because of the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast. The 7-colored heaven-devouring beast had reached the Origin Realm, so the slightest carelessness could destroy the artifact space. At the same time, Jianqin did not dare to place Kea and the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast in the Inata Tower because he would not dare to reveal the Inata Tower once he went to the Saints' world. After all, he had not completely refined the Inata Tower yet. Once it was exposed in the Saints' world, it was possible for supreme experts to sense its presence. Jianchen waved goodbye to everyone before leaving the Tianyuan continent with Xinjian. They charged towards the tunnel to the saint's world, while the bright moon divine hall followed behind them. Yu Yu and Huang Luan waved goodbye to Jianchen sorrowfully on the Tianyuan continent. The two of them were too weak, so they did not follow Jianchen to the higher world. In another direction, Qin Qin, Xiao Qian, and Xiao Yu stood together. Qin Qin stared at Jianchen as he gradually disappeared into the surroundings. She was gloomy. Young Master Jianchen, farewell. I probably won't be able to see you again in the future, thought Qin Qin. Qin Qin thought in her heart. Two streams of tears flowed uncontrollably from her eyes. At this moment she felt an unprecedented pain in her heart. You have to be careful in the tunnel. You can't be careless. Jianchen, you'll be in charge of protecting my bright moon divine hall. I'll warn you if you come across any danger. Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out from behind. With that, the bright moon divine hall immediately shrank to the size of a fist before being grabbed by Jianchen. Ziying, Qing Suo, I'm going to the saint's world, so I'll have to trouble you for now, Jianchen said to the sword spirits. He gently pressed his hand against the twin swords, and with a flash of light, the swords vanished. They had fused into Jianchen's hand, slumbering in his dantian. Jianchen could have stored the twin swords away a long time ago. He just allowed them to come into contact with the outside world so that they could absorb the yin and yang energy of the world, which would assist in their recovery. However, he could not expose the twin swords once he went to the saint's world. Jianchen held the fist-sized bright moon divine hall in his left hand as he walked side by side with Xinjian. They entered the tunnel to the saint's world together and left this world. The tunnel leading to the saint's world was not filled with chaos. Instead, it was filled with multicolored light, forming ribbons of various colors that filled every corner of the tunnel. At the same time, an extremely great pressure pressed down from the surroundings. The pressure was so great that it was enough to kill any holy emperor. Only Origin Realm experts could endure it. Jianchen and Shenzhen endured the pressure with ease. They advanced through the tunnel, carefully as they looked around, curiously. When Jianchen saw the multicolored halos that filled the tunnel, space immediately began to change. Everything flickered. He seemed to see blurry images of various worlds rapidly flickering through the halos. Every world was different, and every world possessed their own unique culture and systems. Sometimes he could even see experts of various levels fighting in the halos. Some were powerful, some were weak. Only sainthood or mortal realm experts were weak, while origin realm experts could be seen fighting to the death from time to time. However, the images were extremely blurry, and they changed extremely quickly. Every single image would only appear for a split second, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and illusion. The images you see here are not fake. They're all real because we're currently moving through space at an unbelievable speed. They're images that appear as we pass through various worlds. Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out in Jianchen's head. Jianchen was secretly shocked when he heard that. He had already seen the images of countless worlds flicker through. If every single image was a world, he really did not know just how many worlds he had passed through. Although I already knew that there were many lower worlds, I've only truly witnessed just how many there are today. It's probably impossible to describe them with words. The Tianyuan continent that I used to stay on was only one of the many insignificant spaces, Jianchen thought. It was impossible to sense the flow of time in the tunnel. Jianchen and Shenzhen had no idea how long they had been moving through. They would come across chaotic streams of space from time to time, but they managed to avoid them all. Finally, they saw the exit of the tunnel after who knew how much time had passed. It was a barren plain. It stretched as far as the eye could see. Aside from a few large birds flying through the air with lightning-like speed, there was not a single living thing to be seen. Chapter 1672. The two people who had fallen out of the tunnel were Jianqin and Xinjian. As the gravity and density of space in this world were extremely different from the Tianyuan continent, the two of them immediately felt like an extremely heavy mountain had suddenly fallen on them as soon as they left the tunnel. Caught off guard, they slammed into the ground in an extremely horrible shape. Jianqin stood up with a beautiful flip in the air. He patted off the dust on him as he studied the foreign world. In this world, he could clearly sense the extremely powerful power of the laws of the world, filling every inch of space in the world. In particular, the origin energy there was far denser than Jianqin had imagined. It was as if he could absorb a large amount of origin energy effortlessly with just a deep breath. If the origin energy here was compared to the world of Forsaken Saints, the world of Forsaken Saints would basically be a backwater place that lacked resources. Aside from that, Jianqin's greatest feeling after arriving in this world was that the gravity here was 10 times more powerful than the Tianyuan continent. The density of space had reached a level that left him dumbfounded. If the space on the Tianyuan continent and the world of Forsaken Saints was a piece of paper, then the space here was a piece of steel. No, even describing it as steel was not enough to describe the toughness of the space here. It should be described as many times tougher than steel. Is this the saint's world? Jianqin looked around and said with some excitement, the origin energy in this world was so abundant that he could see hope for his chaotic body to continue breaking through. The laws of the world are so powerful, the origin energy is so dense, and even the gravity and space are so powerful. This should be the saint's world without a doubt, Xinjian said as he patted off the dust on him. He looked around excitedly. Let's find a hidden place to enter seclusion first. I need to break through to godhood as soon as possible. That way, our chances of surviving here will be greater, Jianqin said. He had already reached the limits of reciprocity in the lower world. He had grasped the laws of the world as well, so he possessed the key to reaching godhood long ago. However, he was unable to reach godhood due to the restrictions of the laws of the world in the lower world. Now that he had come to the saint's world, he immediately wanted to break through in a hurry. That works too. We can also learn more about the situation of the saint's world from Fairy Haiyue while we're at it, Jianqin said before flying off with Xinjian. Due to the increase in gravity and the density of space in the saint's world, Jianqin and Xinjian's flight speeds were greatly affected. They were no longer able to travel several million kilometers with a single step like they did in the lower world. Moreover, their origin energy consumption rate was several times greater when they flew in the saint's world. The range of the senses of their souls was restricted as well. Jianqin, I need to absorb origin energy to recover, so I won't be able to help you with anything other than telling you a few things about the saint's world. If you come across enemies, you'll have to deal with them on your own. You must protect my divine hall. My divine hall can still be of some use on the Tianyuan continent, but in the saint's world, any random reciprocity expert can destroy it. Fairy Haiyue's voice rang out in Jianqin's head. Fairy Haiyue, don't worry. As long as I, Jianqin, am still alive, I will definitely protect your divine hall with everything I have. Quite a few of us are still in your divine hall, Jianqin smiled. With your and Xinjian's strength, you'll still be able to protect yourselves if you come across deities. As for your friends, they won't be able to fight back at all before godhood experts. As a result, for their safety, let them stay in my divine hall for now, Fairy Haiyue said. Neither Jianqin nor Xinjian had any objections to the suggestion. They agreed happily. Jianqin and Xinjian flew through the barren plains at a steady pace. They searched for a suitable place to enter seclusion so that Xinjian could break through. There's someone up ahead. Suddenly, Jianqin's eyes narrowed. A small group of around a dozen people appeared very far away from them. 1 reciprocity, 2 returnants for receival, and the rest are Holy Emperor, Jianqin said indifferently. Xinjian said in a flat tone. His eyes flashed as he said, This is the first time we've seen cultivators after flying over this plane for half a day. Let's go over and ask them to understand the situation around here." Jianchen nodded. He changed directions with Xin Jian and flew towards the group. They had clearly discovered the two of them as well, and they became cautious. However, at this moment, Jianchen's face changed and he came to a halt. He said with a heavy voice, "Wait, there's a godhood expert heading this way." As soon as Jianchen finished speaking, Shan Jian sensed a powerful presence rapidly approach them. His face changed, and he stood beside Jianchen cautiously. 2 seconds later, a fiery red figure shot through the air like a meteor, flying off into the distance. It seemed to be in a hurry, as if it was fleeing for its life. As it approached, a powerful pressure flooded the surroundings. Accompanying it was a powerful pulse of energy that caused Jianchen and Xin Jian's expressions to change. Originally, the figure did not come for Jianchen and the group. It seemed like it was just passing by and happened to come across them. However, when the fiery red figure discovered that there were other people here, it suddenly changed its direction and flew directly towards the small team of more than 10 people. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the dozen or so people. Raging flames burned around his body as he floated in the air, like a god of fire descending. However, through the raging flames, one could clearly see the hideous and terrifying wounds on his body, as well as the remaining blood on his deathly pale face and the corners of his mouth. He was clearly injured. "Be careful! This person's cultivation has reached late Deity." Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out. It was slightly stern. If she still possessed her cultivation, a person like this would only be as insignificant as an ant in her eyes. However, she had to treat them with caution now. Jianchen and Xin Jian looked at each other. They had never thought that they would come across a godhood expert as soon as they arrived in the saint's world, and the person would be so powerful. "You've come at the perfect time. You just happened to be able to heal some of my wounds." Undying body of flames. Suddenly, the fiery red figure let out a low roar, and the flames around him soared, turning into a sea of fire that enveloped the small team of more than a dozen people. Faced with the attack of a godhood expert, especially one who was a late deity, the group with the strongest reciprocity expert was unable to put up any resistance at all. They did not even have the power to flee. They were directly enveloped by the sea of flames and were reduced to nothingness in a single moment. As they died, a portion of their vitality and origin energy was devoured by the sea of flames. However, this vitality and origin energy were converted into energy for the man to heal and recover. When the sea of flames vanished, the man's presence had clearly become slightly more powerful. Jianchen and Xin Jian were stern. They looked at each other and sensed that the situation was bad. Chapter 16, 73. There's actually a late reciprocity expert. From the strength of your presence, you should have reached the limits of late reciprocity as well. You're just unable to comprehend the laws of the world, so you're stuck at reciprocity. If you hadn't appeared here today and encountered me, you might have been able to reach godhood one day. It's just a pity that you'll never have that opportunity. Become nutrients for my recovery. Remember my name. I am Lu Fei, the one who will kill you." The burning man smiled cruelly. He looked at Jianchen and Shen Jian like he was looking at dead people. "Lu Fei, do you really think you can take us down? The two of us have no intentions of becoming your enemy. If you insist on doing this, don't blame us for being merciless," Jianchen said coldly. Jianchen said coldly. Although he was stern, there was no fear or panic on his face at all. Lu Fei's eyes narrowed. He glared at Jianchen and sneered, "You sure talk big. Although I can't see through your cultivation, I can vaguely sense that you're at reciprocity. Even if I'm wrong and you possess strength at godhood, you still won't be able to change the outcome." With that killing intent surged in Lu Fei's eyes. With a bellow, he used the undying body of flames again. Immediately, fierce flames surged from his body, turning into a sea of fire that enveloped Jianqin and Xinjian. A gleam of light flashed through Xinjian and Jianqin's eyes. With a clear thrum of a sword, a pitch-black sword silently appeared in Xinjian's hand. He fused with his sword, turning into a resplendent streak of light that directly charged into the sea of fire. He charged towards Lu Fei with an unstoppable force. Jianqin's gaze became extremely sharp like an unsheathed sword. It was filled with sharpness. Although he did not possess a sword at that moment, he gave off the feeling that he had become a supreme sword. With a gentle stroke of his finger, the surging sea of fire was immediately parted by a powerful, invisible sword qi. Xinjian fused with his sword, turning into a powerful and resplendent streak of light. He flew through the tunnel Jianqin had created. The cloud stream, sword in his hand, surged with a streak of light that was several meters long as he pointed it at Lu Fei's forehead. You've actually both comprehended laws. I've underestimated you. Lu Fei's eyes narrowed, and he immediately became rather stern. He clenched his hand, and the sea of fire in the surroundings churned violently, condensing into a hand of fire in a single moment. Not only did the hand of fire contain a powerful pulse of energy that shocked Jianqin and Xinjian, but it also contained a sliver of the laws of fire. It grabbed Xinjian's cloud stream sword. Your cultivation has reached the limits of reciprocity, and you've comprehended the laws of the world. If you have some time, you can reach godhood at any time. What a pity, what a pity. You'll never have that opportunity. Let's not talk about the difference in cultivation between us, but even in terms of comprehension of the laws of the world, there's still a huge difference between us. Lu Fei gently sighed. He looked at Xinjian and Jianqin with a sliver of pity, but it was soon replaced by heavy killing intent. To him, both Jianqin and Xinjian were nutrients that he could devour to recover from his wounds. Lu Fei gently extended a finger, and a red streak of light shot out from the tip of his finger. It shot towards the forehead of the sword with a sliver of the laws of fire. Form breaker! Suddenly, Xinjian bellowed out. The cloud stream sword immediately shone brightly as it slashed towards the hand of fire. The strike possessed a mysterious power that could destroy everything in the world. It targeted all tangible objects. With the strike, Lu Fei's hand of fire was immediately split in half. When the laws of fire within the hand of fire collided with Xinjian's laws of the sword, they were actually suppressed by Xinjian's laws of the sword, preventing them from unleashing their power. Afterwards, the cloud stream sword turned into a blur and stabbed towards the red streak of light that contained the sliver of the laws of fire that Lu Fei had pointed at. With a great boom, the red light immediately exploded, dispersing into the surroundings as a powerful ripple of energy. Xinjian was forced back by the powerful ripple of energy. Although he possessed the battle prowess of godhood, the difference in cultivation between him and Lu Fei was just too great. However, Lu Fei did not care about the spreading energy shockwaves at all. The ferocious energy shockwaves struck his body, but it was unable to shake his body in the slightest. Instead, his eyes were firmly fixed on Xinjian. His face was filled with an expression of disbelief. Your comprehension of laws is actually greater than mine. Impossible. This is definitely impossible. Lu Fei cried out as his heart churned. He was a late deity, close to becoming God, yet a cultivator who had not even reached godhood had actually surpassed him in terms of comprehension of laws. He struggled to accept this. However, at this moment, a coldness suddenly rose up from the bottom of Lu Fei's heart. Jianqin had already arrived before Lu Fei with lightning speed. Using his finger as a sword, a huge streak of light shot out from the tip of his finger, stabbing towards Lu Fei mercilessly with a cold intent. Lu Fei's face changed. Before they had fought, he did not sense any power from Jianqin. Only now that he was truly clashing with Jianqin, he discovered in shock that Jianqin was actually much more powerful than Xinjian. He actually felt threatened by Jianqin's attack. Lu Fei finally became stern. He dared not to be careless at all. He struck out with his full strength, and a fiery red sword appeared in his hand. The laws of fire condensed as he stabbed out as hard as he could. Jianchen's sword chi collided with Lu Fei's sword, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Lu Fei's laws of fire collided with Jianchen's laws of the sword, and his laws of fire were suppressed, rapidly dispersing. He was not the opponent of Jianchen's laws of the sword at all in terms of comprehension of laws. Impossible. How is your comprehension of laws so powerful as well? It's actually greater than mine. Who are the two of you? Lu Fei's face was filled with shock. He struggled to remain calm. He had never thought that the two people he had casually come across on the plains where resources were scarce would be so powerful. Their cultivations were clearly not powerful, but their comprehension of laws was frighteningly great. Even a late deity, like him, was nowhere near as great as them. Jianchen said nothing. His eyes were cold as he stabbed out a second time. He moved extremely quickly, and with a flash, the sword chi had already arrived before Lu Fei, heading straight for his forehead. Lu Fei retreated explosively. At the same time, he tilted his head, avoiding the fatal strike by a hair's breadth. However, his hair had been swept away by the sword chi, causing it to become disheveled. Apart from shock, there was also a sliver of coldness in his eyes when he looked at Jianchen and Xinjian. Immediately, he changed his hand seals, and the source strength between the heavens and the earth suddenly surged and gathered. In an instant, it condensed into a blazing divine sword 100 meters long above his head, illuminating the sky red. Faintly, a cloud of fire gathered in the sky. Since I can't devour you directly, I'll kill you first before devouring you. Once I devour the two of you, I should be able to recover quite a lot. Truth Tier Battle Skill, Scarlet Fire Python Sword. Lu Fei bellowed out. The sword chi above his head immediately turned into a red streak of light, shooting towards Jianchen with lightning speed. The tip of the sword chi turned into a vicious snake head at that moment. At that moment, Lu Fei, a mighty late deity, had actually been forced to use a battle skill by Jianchen. The battle skill was extremely powerful as well. It had reached the level of the immortal's world, which made Jianchen become stern. Dalio sword! Jianchen called out. He formed a seal with his hand, and golden light flickered around him. A golden sword chi appeared out of nowhere, colliding with Lu Fei's battle skill with an unstoppable force. With the increase in Jianchen's chaotic force, the Dalio sword he used was much more powerful than when he used it on the Tianyuan continent. He also used an immortal tier sword technique to deal with Lu Fei's battle skill that was on the level of the immortal's world. With a boom, the Dalio sword and the Scarlet Fire Python sword collided heavily. Golden and red light intertwined, creating the most resplendent fireworks. Lu Fei's battle skill began to disperse, while a half-meter-long strand of golden sword chi remained from Jianchen's Dalio sword. It shot through the air as a golden streak of light. It passed through Lu Fei's chest under his gaze of disbelief. Lu Fei's body shook violently as he vomited blood. He staggered several dozen meters back before finally stabilizing himself. With a flash of black light, Shen Jian's cloud stream sword shot over as well. It swept past Lu Fei's neck and almost beheaded him. Lu Fei became even paler as the flames around him dimmed. Not only had he failed to devour Jianchen and Shen Jian to recover, but he had also become heavily injured in the battle. He had gone for wool and come home shorn. I never thought that I wouldn't be their opponent. If this continues, I'll definitely lose. The ancestor of the Lu family will probably break free soon as well. I need to leave as soon as possible. Whatever, I'll remember the two of them for now. I'll deal with them in the future. Lu Fei no longer had the heart to continue fighting. With a single movement, he turned into a blur and fled as quickly as he could. Lu Fei fled extremely quickly. In terms of speed alone, neither Jianchen nor Xinjian could match up to him. After all, There was a difference in their cultivation. A gleam of light flashed through Gentian's eyes as he watched Lu Fei fly away. He formed a seal with his hands before turning into a bolt of lightning, chasing after Lu Fei with unbelievable speed. Linear lightning release. Impossible. His speed. Lu Fei was shocked when he saw Gentian chase after him like a bolt of lightning. This time he had no time to dodge at all. Gentian passed through Lu Fei as a bolt of lightning. Although Gentian could not catch up to Lu Fei in terms of speed, he still possessed a sword technique. The linear lightning release was an extremely fast sword technique. It could be used for both attack and pursuit. Lu Fei's eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. The divine light in his eyes quickly dissipated, becoming hollow. Then his body split into two halves, with the center of his brows as the center. The moment the bolt of lightning passed through his body, not only did it split open his body, but even his soul was wiped out as well. His soul had been wiped out. I never thought that I would be able to kill late gods so easily after reaching the 9th layer of the chaotic body. Due to the chaotic Naiden, I've only been able to use 80% of my strength. Jianchen sighed emotionally as he looked at Lu Fei's corpse. He casually took Lu Fei's space ring. However, Lu Fei is injured as well. If he was in peak condition, it probably wouldn't have been so easy to kill him. Chapter 1674. Xin Jian flew over from afar. He stared at Lu Fei's corpse and said, "There really are as many experts in the saints' world as there are clouds in the sky. Just a random person I came across was a late deity. If he took a step further, he would become a god. I need to find a safe place to break through as soon as possible." After the battle with Lu Fei, Xin Jian was even more eager to break through to godhood. However, this place was a desolate plain, so there was nowhere to hide at all. Moreover, people would pass by from time to time, so it was clearly not a good place to break through. Jianchen thought of the Anita Tower. Although it was damaged, it was a good place to break through. However, after coming to the Saints' world, Jianchen did not dare to take out the Anita Tower. He was afraid that extremely powerful experts would sense the presence of the Anita Tower. Let's leave this place quickly. Lu Fei seemed like he was running for his life earlier. Coupled with the fact that he's injured, there must be someone pursuing him. "We can't stay here any longer," Jianchen said to Xin Jian. He played around with the space ring he had taken from Lu Fei's finger before stowing it away casually. Now was not the time to check the items inside. However, as soon as Jianchen finished speaking, an extremely powerful presence permeated from afar. The presence blanketed the surroundings, surging into the clouds and kicking up a storm. Accompanying the presence was a surging sense of fury and extremely cold, killing intent. "Let's go." The expressions of Jianchen and Xin Jian changed. Without any hesitation, the two of them immediately fled as quickly as they could. The pressure from the owner of the presence was several times greater than Lu Fei's. This was an extremely powerful expert, one who had surpassed deity. Without even thinking, Jianchen and Xin Jian could guess that this was the person pursuing Lu Fei. Although Lu Fei was already dead, Jianchen and Xin Jian still chose to leave just in case. A few seconds after Jianchen and Xin Jian left, a blurry, gray figure shot over from afar. He moved so quickly that he was several times faster than Lu Fei. He gave off a powerful presence, causing the ground to sink. The cold and heavy killing intent reduced the dried grass on the ground to dust. Very soon, the gray figure stopped before Lu Fei's corpse. Only then did his face become visible. He was an old man who seemed to be in his 70s. He wore gray robes, and his gray hair danced in the wind behind him. He had a hooked nose, and his aged eyes were piercing. His face was terrifyingly sunken. The old man glanced past Lu Fei's corpse for a while. When he discovered that Lu Fei's space ring had vanished, his gaze immediately became extremely terrifying. His killing intent skyrocketed as well, reaching a limit. It's impossible for me to steal the heirloom of my Lu family. The old man's face was extremely sunken, and his voice was bone-chillingly cold. He immediately expanded the senses of his soul and caught the traces Jianqin and Xinjian had left. He immediately chased after them as a gray blur. The laws of the saints' world were powerful, and the space there was tough. Let alone origin realm experts, even godhood experts with great mastery over the laws of space could not tear open the space of this world and create a space gate. As a result, even though the old man was powerful, he could only fly through the air. Jianqin and Shenzhen sensed the old man's pursuit as well. In terms of speed, they were not even as fast as Lu Fei, but the old man was several times faster than Lu Fei due to his great strength. It was impossible for them to shake him off with their speed. Fortunately, they directly stopped and hovered in the air, waiting for the old man to catch up. Very soon, the old man appeared before Jianqin and Xinjian. He directly blocked Jianqin's path and asked coldly with a sunken face, "Did you kill Lu Fei?" "The two of us passed by earlier and came across Lu Fei by chance. Lu Fei wanted to devour us, but he was injured, so his strength was affected. As a result, not only did he fail to devour us in the end, he was killed by us instead. May I ask who this senior is?" Jianqin clasped his fist and asked in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. "Jianqin, this person has already reached early God. You have to be careful." Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out in Jianqin's head as well, causing Jianqin's face to become even more stern. Early God. Although Lu Fei was only a single cultivation level higher than late deity, the difference of a single cultivation level was like a chasm. Xinjian became extremely stern as well. From the old man's attitude and reaction, he could already tell that the early god probably would not spare them today. A battle was unavoidable. Coincidence? Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. Lu Fei was the leader of the 6 godhood experts of my Lu family, as well as one of the elders of my Lu family. It's a pity that he was bribed by a mysterious organization, which made him betray the Lu family. They even gave him a powerful formation disc to trap old man before infiltrating the forbidden grounds of my Lu family and stealing our treasure. When I broke out of the formation, I chased you all the way here, and Lu Fei happened to be killed by the 2 of you. The treasure that Lu Fei stole from my Lu family must have fallen into the hands of the 2 of you. Now, you're saying that it's all a coincidence. Do you too think that I'm a 3-year-old child who can be easily fooled?" The old man laughed aloud. His gaze towards Jianqin and Fairy Haoyue became even colder. He called out sternly, "Speak, who sent you?" "Senior, we did indeed kill Lu Fei, but we have nothing to do with the organization behind him. I've already said everything. It's up to you whether you want to believe me or not," Jianqin said emotionlessly. He knew that his coincidental encounter with Lu Fei and Lu Fei's death had already been misunderstood by the old man. As a matter of fact, the 2 of them killing Lu Fei seemed like they were trying to silence him in the eyes of the old man. "Humph, you still want to quibble?" As one of old man's descendants, no one understands Lu Fei's strength better than I do. How could the 2 of you kill him so easily as a late deity? Moreover, there's even one of you at reciprocity. If old man has guessed correctly, the organization behind Lu Fei has specially sent the 2 of you to receive him. In order to not raise Lu Fei's guard, they send a person who hasn't even reached godhood to receive you. Their goal is to make Lu Fei drop his guard and then use the trump card that the organization behind you gave you to launch a sneak attack on Lu Fei, killing him in the end. That way, not only will you obtain the treasure of my Lu family, but you'll also be able to silence him. There's no need to worry about old man finding the organization behind you. Is that correct, old man? The old man's voice became even colder. His killing intent seemed to boil, reaching the limit. This was because the more he analyzed, the more he found what he said to be reasonable. Although he had seen the traces of battle, He did not believe that Jianqin and Shenzhen had killed Lu Fei with their own strength. Instead, they had used the treasures from the organization behind them. Speak. Who's the organization behind you? Speak, and Old Man might spare your lives. But if you don't, Old Man can only capture the two of you and use various methods to torture you until you're willing to speak. The Old Man slowly approached Jianqin and Shenzhen. He radiated with an extremely powerful pressure that pressed down on Jianqin and Shenzhen. There's no point in talking now that it's like this. Do it. Jianqin said to Shenzhen secretly. He formed a seal with his hand, and immediately his body flickered with golden light. A huge golden sword qi condensed at that moment, stabbing towards the Old Man with lightning speed. Chapter 16, 75. At the same time, Shenzhen's presence suddenly changed. His hair and clothes ruffled without any wind as he radiated with extremely powerful sword qi. As he slowly raised the cloud stream sword in his hand, specks of starlight immediately flickered. At that moment, the space around the cloud stream sword seemed to transform into a boundless starry sky. A will that splits the heavens, sword shakes, stars shatters. Suddenly, Shenzhen bellowed out. The cloud stream sword violently shook as it slashed out. As it descended, it turned into a visible ripple that extended toward the Old Man with devastating power. It moved extremely quickly. Wherever the ripple passed by, the ground cracked and dust was kicked into the air. All the withered grass was reduced to dust. A will that splits the heavens was the most powerful sword technique Shenzhen had grasped right now. In the lower world, it possessed the power to destroy stars, but in the Saints' world, all matter was far tougher than on the Tianyuan continent. As a result, his devastating sword technique was unable to cause much damage in the Saints' world. So you've both comprehended laws. The Old Man has underestimated you before, but even with that being the case, you won't be able to escape today, the Old Man said calmly. He did not take Jianqin and Shenzhen seriously at all. With a wave of his hand, the origin energy in the surroundings immediately surged, condensing into two powerful strands of sword qi in a single instance. They shot toward Jianqin and Shenzhen with surging flames. Boom! Jianqin's Daluo sword technique was directly dispersed by the sword qi casually sent out by the Old Man. The powerful ripples of energy forced Jianqin into constant retreat. At the same time, the ripple from Shenzhen's sky splits the heavens collided with the Old Man's sword qi. The ripple immediately twisted before dispersing at a visible rate. This terrifying sword wave, which could easily destroy a star in the lower realm, was broken by the gray-robed Old Man with a casual strike. Moreover, after breaking the sword wave of the divine sword, the sword qi of the gray-robed elder did not dissipate, but its power was much weaker than before. Then, without slowing down, it turned into a red light and continued to shoot toward Shenzhen. Break the momentum. Shenzhen's expression became extremely grim. With a deep bellow, the cloud stream sword shone with a dazzling white light, leaving behind an afterimage as it struck the incoming sword qi. Boom! The gray-robed elder's sword beam finally dissipated, transforming into a clump of red flames that exploded in the air. As for Shenzhen, he coughed out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The difference between their strength was just far too great. One of them was at peak reciprocity while the other was a god. No matter how talented Shenzhen was, he was unable to make up for the difference that was like an insurmountable chasm. Jianqin no longer cared about Shenzhen. He was extremely stern right now. He formed a seal with his hand, and immediately, golden sword qi condensed. He continued to use the Daluo sword against the Old Man. At the same time, his other hand did not remain idle either. He formed a seal at the same time. It's best if you use all your trump cards. Just these are not enough to threaten the Old Man, the gray-robed elder said coldly. With a wave of his hand, he broke through Jianqin's Daluo sword effortlessly. It was also at this moment that Jianqin suddenly shone with a dazzling white light. As if he had turned into a bolt of lightning, he charged towards the gray-robed elder with unbelievable speed. In just a single instant, he had arrived before the old man. The old man's eyes suddenly narrowed. At that moment, Jianqin's speed had even surpassed what he could see with his naked eye. Only the senses of his soul could catch a glimpse of him. This speed. The old man was shocked. Jianqin's current speed was just too fast, so fast that he found it rather unbelievable. He was still several hundred meters away a moment ago, yet he had appeared right before him in the next instant like he had teleported. He was rather caught off guard. Spurt! The sword qi condensed at the tip of Jianqin's finger stabbed into the old man's body. However, it encountered a great resistance after only a finger deep, preventing it from going any further. The tremendous energy of a god in the old man immediately stopped Jianqin's sword qi from going any further. At the same time, the old man's hand struck Jianqin's chest heavily. Jianqin immediately paled. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he was blown away like a broken kite. His clothes had been reduced to tatters by the old man's palm strike as well. However, Jianqin did not weaken at all after being injured. Instead, his battle intent became even more intense. His piercing gaze also revealed a hint of madness. As he changed his hand seals, he suddenly came to a halt. His vital energies rose to the peak in a single instant. The power of the laws of the sword condensed around him. Instead of retreating, he advanced. Using himself as a sword, he transformed into a sword of laws, cutting through all the obstructions in the surroundings. He even charged towards the old man with an unstoppable force. The Tai sword technique. The old man's face was extremely sunken. With a cold snort, a red sword appeared in his hand. With a swing of the sword, a fiery red dragon immediately appeared, roaring as it charged towards Jianqin. The madness in Jianqin's eyes became even more intense. Specks of red light flickered in his eyes. Using himself as a sword, he seemed to have turned into a streak of light as he charged fearlessly into the fire dragon. With a boom, the fire dragon immediately exploded, shaking up the surroundings as a powerful energy shockwave. Jianqin vomited a few mouthfuls of blood, but he did not slow down at all. He continued to charge towards the old man. "I have underestimated you," the old man said coldly. The sword in his hand trembled as he stabbed 3 times with lightning speed. Each stab left a terrifying sword wound on Jianqin's body. In particular, the 3rd stab pierced through Jianqin's right shoulder, almost severing his entire right arm. Jianqin's right palm also seemed to have turned into a sword as it stabbed into the old man's chest. His 5 fingers even penetrated the old man's back. His palm was covered in blood, stained with the blood of the divine realm. The old man grunted. Finally, he looked at Jianqin with some sternness. With his full strength, he sent Jianqin flying far away. Afterwards, with a single movement, the old man left behind an afterimage. He caught up to Jianqin in a single moment with his fiery red sword. He stabbed out with lightning speed, aiming for Jianqin's forehead. Shen Jian's face changed when he saw this. He immediately wanted to charge over and stop the old man. But at this moment, a presence filled with evil and destruction erupted from Jianqin. His eyes had completely become blood red at that moment. Even his hair had become blood red at a visible rate. Jianqin's sudden change caused the old man's eyes to narrow. The presence of evil and destruction that Jianqin gave off actually made the old man shiver from the bottom of his heart. He felt slightly uneasy. Shinjian's face changed as well. He stared at Jianqin in disbelief. He had actually sensed the presence of a calamity from Jianqin. What is this presence? The old man was shocked. He could not help but slow down his stab towards Jianqin's forehead, but soon afterwards his eyes turned cold. His sword immediately stabbed out as a red streak of light without any hesitation. Chapter 16, 76. At this critical moment, 2 resplendent streaks of light, one violet and one azure, shone from Jianchen. They turned into 2 swords and shot toward the old man. Ding! The 2 swords collided heavily with the old man's red sword, producing the sound of metal clashing. Scattered sword chi flew in all directions with flames in the air, sweeping through the surroundings and creating deep craters in the tough ground. The 2 swords retreated after making contact. They circled around each other and flew above Jianchen's head. Jianchen casually gripped the Ziying sword. His blood-red hair fluttered without any wind as he stared at the old man emotionlessly with his bloodshot eyes. He had completely lost his mind and sense of self. All that was left was an instinctive desire to destroy and kill. His grip on the Ziying sword was also instinctive. Shan Jian stood in the distance as he stared at Jianchen. He was extremely stern because he could not sense any familiar presence from Jianchen at all. All he felt was a sense of unfamiliarity. He had even almost mistaken the current Jianchen for a crisis of the world because the current Jianchen gave him was just too similar to a crisis of the world. Jianchen! Xin Jian bellowed out. His voice was like thunder, exploding in Jianchen's ears in an attempt to wake up Jianchen. He had already guessed that something had probably happened to Jianchen when he was in seclusion in the blood-red cloud. However, Jianchen did not react at all, as if he could not hear Xin Jian's call at all. At the same time, the sword spirits' voices rang out in Jianchen's head as well. They were filled with urgency as they attempted to wake up Jianchen, but it was to no avail as well. Suddenly, with a flash of red light, a vicious flame shot toward Jianchen. The old man wielded a fiery red sword as his presence surged. He charged toward Jianchen with heavy killing intent. At the same time, Jianchen moved as well. He turned into a red blur as he clashed with the old man. Even though Jianchen had lost his mind after becoming demonic, only possessing an instinct to destroy and kill, he was much more powerful than before. Violet and azure sword chi surged in the air with strands of flames, wreaking havoc in the surroundings. It formed powerful ripples of energy that expanded in all directions, causing the ground to sink and dust to rise into the air. The sky became hazy from their battle. For a moment, Jianchen was actually able to match the early god old man with the assistance of the azulate swords. The great difference in strength between the 2 of them had been made up for all of a sudden. Jianchen constantly used various sword techniques. The Daluo sword, the Tai sword technique, the linear lightning release, and so on had all been used by Jianchen several times. This was not because he had recovered his mind. Instead, he had grasped these sword techniques and was using them instinctively. More and more wounds appeared on Jianchen and the old man. Both of them were covered in blood, but they became fiercer and fiercer as they fought. However, at a closer glance, Jianchen's wounds were several times more than the old man's. Clearly, he was at a disadvantage. However, the strength of Jianchen's chaotic body was on full display at this moment. Even though he had lost his mind, the supreme recovery of his chaotic body was still present. As a result, his wounds actually healed at a visible rate. However, the rate at which he healed was nowhere near as fast as the rate at which his wounds healed. The old man's eyes narrowed at the sight of this. He was extremely shocked. Just what kind of cultivation method is this? It's actually so heaven-defying. Not only does it allow a deity to fight a deity, but even the recovery of the body is so great. If I can grasp this cultivation method. A sliver of greed immediately appeared in the old man's eyes when he thought of this. Although he knew that this cultivation method had its drawbacks, some drawbacks could be accepted and tolerated in the face of rapidly increasing strength. At that moment, the old man's attacks became even more vicious. In just a few short exchanges, he had added a few more vicious wounds to Jianchen's body. In the end, he used his sword to block the twin swords as he used a truth-tier battle skill with his left hand. It transformed into a huge hand and gently pressed against Jianchen's chest with devastating power. The truth tier battle skill, used by a god, was nothing to scoff at. With a heavy sound, Jianshin's entire chest exploded. The terrifying power from the truth tier battle skill wreaked havoc in his body. Not only were his organs destroyed, but even his bones had been reduced to dust. He was extremely heavily injured. Jianshin vomited blood as he fell to the ground in the distance. All his bones had been reduced to dust, so he was powerless to stand up. He lay on the ground limply. However, to his surprise, the heavy injury this time actually allowed his mind to slowly recover its clarity. The blood in his eyes gradually faded, and even his long hair that seemed to be dyed red by blood began to turn black. Very soon, Jianshin emerged from his demonic state and returned to normal. However, when he sensed his wounds, he could not help but smile bitterly. He did not even have the right to stand up. He had no idea how long it had been since he had been so heavily injured. If it were not for the fact that he cultivated the chaotic body, the old man's truth tier battle skill would have been enough to reduce him to a bloody pulp. His soul would have been wiped out. The old man dripped with the blood of a god as he made his way over to Jianshin. He extended his hand towards Jianshin, wanting to take Jianshin back to the Lu family first before slowly obtaining the heaven-defying cultivation method from him. Seeing how Jianshin was in danger, Shen Jian gritted his teeth and began to use the second move of A will that splits the heavens without any regard for the consequences. He had used the second style once when he was dealing with the calamity of the world in the lower world. At that time, he had paid a heavy price to use the second style. However, he had no other choice but to continue using the second style in the current situation. A will that splits the heavens, mere origin energy, piss off for old man. However, Shen Jian did not have the time to use the second move at all. The old man directly sent a strand of sword qi over, piercing Shen Jian's body. Shen Jian was immediately blown away as he vomited blood. His face paled. The old man did not even glance at Shen Jian. All he could see was Jianshin. He directly reached towards Jianshin in excitement. Just as the old man was about to grab Jianshin, a cold light suddenly flashed through Jianshin's eyes. Suddenly, a dazzling white light shone from Jianshin. A strand of white sword qi that was only the length of a finger suddenly appeared above his head. The sword qi seemed small and insignificant, but the moment it appeared, the surroundings immediately began to churn. The docile origin energy became violent at that moment as streams of energy wreaked havoc in the air. Even the omnipresent power of laws became rather disorderly at that moment. What is this? The old man's hand that was reaching towards Jianshin came to a halt. He stared at the small strand of sword qi that hovered above Jianshin's head in shock. He actually sensed a terrifying power from the strand of sword qi. The power was so great that it was enough to destroy him. Without waiting for the gray-robed old man to think, the finger-sized white sword qi turned into a white light and shot towards the gray-robed old man like lightning. The moment the sword qi shot out, the air seemed to stop flowing and time seemed to stop as well. Everything in the world fell silent. Only the strand of sword qi shone with a dazzling white light, replacing the scorching sun. It became the only thing in the world, destroying origin energy and slicing through the laws as it shot forward. Even though the gray-robed old man was a god, he was unable to dodge this strand of sword qi. He immediately tossed out several discs as quickly as he could. Each disc was a powerful defensive treasure. They formed barriers of light that enveloped the gray-robed old man. However, when the profound sword qi came in contact with the discs, the defensive treasures became as fragile as tofu. They were silently reduced to dust, and the profound sword qi passed through the old man's body. The old man's presence rapidly withered as he constantly vomited blood. His face was sheet white. The moment the profound sword qi passed through his body, not only did he suffer an unprecedented injury, it even wiped out a portion of his vitality, a portion of his cultivation, and a portion of his soul at the same time, especially the gray-robed old man's chest. A huge hole had silently appeared. The flesh and blood inside had already disappeared, and it looked ferocious and terrifying. The old man looked at Jianchen in shock. He endured the weakness and pain in his soul as he pulled out a formation disc from his space ring without any hesitation and tossed it at his feet. With a flash of light, he fled. He needed to flee. The injuries from the profound sword chi were just too heavy. Even though he managed to survive, he no longer had the power to use his cultivation. In particular, the pain from his soul made him feel like he could faint at any time. He was as weak as a mortal right now. If he did not flee, only death would await him. Chapter 1677. Jianchen lay on the ground feebly. His face was pale and extremely weak. Although the profound sword chi was very powerful, using it was anything but easy for him. Right now, he felt like the power of his soul had been completely drained. His head felt heavy and slightly painful. Even his consciousness blurred. He could pass out at any moment. Using the profound sword chi drained the power of his soul even more. If he had used the profound sword chi when he was in peak condition, the power of his soul would not have been completely drained. However, the battle earlier, especially after he became obsessed, had drained the power of his soul to a certain extent. As a result, he almost ran out of power when he used the profound sword chi at the very end. Jianchen stared at the old man who had vanished with a hazy consciousness. Finally, he could not hold on any longer. His head felt heavy and he fainted. On the other side, Shen Jian struggled to his feet. He pulled out a jade bottle from his space ring and poured a few pills into his mouth. Afterwards, he staggered over to Jianchen and fed him a few pills as well. Then, he picked up Jianchen and flew off in a shaky manner. Shen Jian did not know if there were any other godhood experts of the Lu family in pursuit. Now that Jianchen was unconscious and he was heavily injured, it was possible that the two of them would die here if anything happened. As a result, he carried Jianchen and fled as quickly as he could. Shen Jian's wounds healed extremely slowly. He was just too heavily injured, and he had been injured by a god. This made it even more difficult for him to heal. Even though he had ingested some pills, it only stopped his wounds from worsening. Red light flickered around his wounds as well. The red light was the remnant power of the laws of fire left on Shen Jian's wounds when the gray-robed old man had injured him. The power of laws was even more powerful than origin energy. It was the symbol of godhood. If regular origin realm experts were injured by the power of laws, it would be fatal. However, since Shen Jian had also grasped the laws of the sword and his comprehension of laws was no weaker than the old man's, the power of the laws of fire did not pose as great of a threat to Shen Jian as he had imagined. As a matter of fact, the power of the laws of fire in Shen Jian's body was no longer able to cause any further harm to Shen Jian under the suppression of his laws of the sword. However, he was in a hurry to flee, so he did not have the extra energy to deal with the laws of fire. He could only suppress them for now. Shen Jian lowered his head to look at Jianchen. When he discovered that the power of the laws of fire in Jianchen's wounds was gradually fading, a sliver of surprise and envy immediately appeared on his face. He sighed in amazement. "I really wonder what kind of cultivation method you practice. You actually have such a great body and recovery ability. Just the recovery of your body alone has depleted the laws of fire." Shen Jian had already praised Jianchen's chaotic body more than once. In the past, Jianchen was even slightly weaker than Xiongzhong, but he managed to use his tough body and incredible recovery ability to repel Xiongzhong. Afterwards, he fought against Jianchen in outer space, splitting the moon in half. At that time, his strength was clearly greater than Jianchen's, but Jianchen had also used the strength of the chaotic body to put up a good fight against him. In the end, both of them ended up heavily injured. But now, the great defense and recovery of his chaotic body had caught up to the damage of the laws of fire in his wounds. He even used his recovery ability to deplete the power of the laws of fire bit by bit. Shen Jian flew from day to night with Jianchen, and then from night to dawn. After flying for a day and a night, even Xin Jian had no idea just how far they had traveled. He only knew that he had crossed the plains. Traveling in the Saints' world was much more difficult than traveling on the Tianyuan continent. Not only was speed restricted, but it was also extremely exhausting. Shen Jian had gone through a great battle before being heavily injured. After such a long journey, it was already difficult for him to continue. In the end, they stopped beside a small lake. I need to purge the remaining power of the laws of fire from my wounds as soon as possible, or they won't heal. Shen Jian lay on the ground as he breathed heavily. He no longer had the power to continue traveling. Afterwards, he immediately closed his eyes and mobilized the power of the laws of the sword to purge the laws of fire from his wounds. The laws of fire were no longer the opponent of Shen Jian's laws of the sword without any new power. They were completely purged very soon. Shen Jian's head felt heavy after purging the laws of fire, and he fell asleep. Before long, the sound of something whistling through the air suddenly rang out. A flying vehicle that was several hundred meters long flew over. Several dozen black-clothed men stood around the vehicle emotionlessly, like guards. Every single one of them possessed powerful presences, having actually reached the origin realm. At the very front of the flying magical treasure stood two women in luxurious clothes. Both of them were as beautiful as fairies, possessing a peerless appearance that would cause hundreds of flowers to pale in comparison. However, from their expressions and gazes, it was not difficult to see that one of them was mature and steady, while the other was filled with mischief and liveliness. Sister Shiyu, we only have a day before we return to the Mo clan. It's already been a few years since I've seen Father, so I really do miss him. I want to return to the Mo clan as soon as possible. I wonder if Father likes the gift I've specially prepared for him, the lively and playful girl said. The lively and mischievous woman said in a crisp voice. There was a trace of attachment on her face. The woman called Shiyu smiled. Foster Father loves you so much, so how could he not like a gift that you've prepared with such meticulous care? But you, Mo Yen, the young master of the Audiobook sword sect, came to propose marriage to you several years ago. What do you think? I don't want to become partners with the young master of the Audiobook sword sect. Sister Shiyu, you have no idea how much I hate that young master. I feel uncomfortable as soon as I see him. If he wants me to become his partner, I might as well just die. Mo Yen frowned and pouted. As soon as she mentioned the young master of the Audiobook sword sect, undisguised disgust appeared on her face. The Liu family is getting closer and closer to the Ando clan now. If our Mo clan doesn't form a faction, it'll be very disadvantageous for us. Father agreed to your marriage with the young master of the Audiobook sword sect to rope in the Audiobook sword sect. After all, the Audiobook sword sect has a god as well, she sighed gently. Her face was filled with helplessness. I don't care. I just don't want to become partners with the young master of the Audiobook sword sect. Mo Yen snorted gently with a sliver of stubbornness. Suddenly, Mo Yan's eyes narrowed. She stared at the ground below and said, Sister Shiyu, look. There are two injured people down there. I can sense that they're still alive. Let's go down and save them. Look at how they're covered in blood. How pitiful. Mo Yan's eyes were filled with pity as well as some pity and sympathy. Shiyu glanced down indifferently. She was not moved at all. Instead, she said to Mo Yen, Mo Yen, have you forgotten what I told you in the past? There's killing everywhere in the Saints' world. Grievances are not as simple as you imagine them to be. If you move about the Saints' world in the future, you'll see even more scenes like this. You can't save just anyone. Not only will some people not feel grateful when you save them, but they'll even stab you in the back at a crucial moment. There are also some people who will cause great trouble for you and your clan if you save them. Mo Yen hugged Shiyu's arm and said, coquettishly, I know. But, Sister Shiyu, look at how pitiful they are. They're bleeding so much, and it's not safe outside. They'll definitely be eaten by some wild beasts if they lie here. Let's just help them. We can just leave after they recover. Besides, big Sister Shiyu, weren't you rescued by my father from the outside world? Shiyu jabbed Mo Yan's forehead viciously and said, I really can't do anything about you, but just this once. Chapter 1678. The flying vehicle slowly descended, hovering 100 meters above Jianqin and Xinjian. Immediately, 2 black-clothed guards leapt down from the vehicle. One of them glanced past the space rings on Jianqin and Shenzhen's fingers, and greed flashed through his eyes. He murmured, You sure are lucky to have encountered our young miss. With that, the guard grabbed Xinjian by his clothes and lifted Xinjian off the ground. His actions were extremely rough. The other guard directly reached for Jianqin's space ring. But as soon as he touched Jianqin's space ring, the guard with Xinjian pressed down on his shoulder. He said emotionlessly, It's not like you don't know the young Miss Personality. You'll make her angry if you do that. Only then did the guard pull back his hand unwillingly. He directly grabbed Jianqin by the collar and lifted him up before flying onto the vehicle with the other guard. How are their injuries? How bad are they? Will there be any lingering effects? As soon as Jianqin and Xinjian were taken onto the vehicle, Mo Yan's concerned voice rang out from the side. Young miss, the 2 of them are quite heavily injured, but they're still alive. They shouldn't be dead, the guard replied politely. She was calm. She stared at Jianqin and Xinjian for a while. Her indifferent gaze seemed to possess an extremely great penetrative power, allowing her to clearly see through Jianqin and Xinjian's injuries. Afterwards, she frowned and said, Their injuries are much worse than I imagined. Even with the best medicine, they'll need quite some time to recover. Take them to the cabin first. Yes, sir. The 2 guards replied politely before disappearing outside with Jianqin and Xinjian. Jianqin and Xinjian lay unconscious in the cabin of the vehicle. No one paid any attention to them, nor did anyone pay any attention to them. It was as if their existence was invisible to the several dozen people on the vehicle. Aside from Mo Yen, who came to check on the 2 of them curiously and fed them some medicine, no one else appeared. After flying for an entire day, the flying vehicle finally stopped outside a huge estate. The estate up ahead was majestic and grand. Above the main entrance, the 2 words Missouri Estate were written in flamboyant calligraphy. There were many guards patrolling the Mo clan. The strength of these guards ranged from the Holy Emperor to the Origin Realm. The Mo clan was clearly a powerful clan to be able to use Origin Realm experts as guards. Ha ha ha, my Yen has finally returned. How have you benefited from your training this time? A vigorous voice rang out, and a valiant man in blue robes stepped through the air. He directly arrived on the flying vehicle and looked at Mo Yen and Shiyu lovingly. Greetings to the patriarch. Greetings to father. The black-robed guards and Shiyu on the flying magic artifact bowed towards the man. Father, Yen, I missed you so much. Mo Yen directly threw herself into the middle-aged man's arms and hugged him tightly. The middle-aged man chuckled. He was filled with love as he gently hugged Mo Yen. He looked at Shiyu and said gently, how has Yen done in the past few years? Mo Yan's ears perked up, and she immediately turned her head. She looked at Shiyu pitifully as she pleaded with her eyes. She rubbed her temples in pain when she saw Mo Yen like that. She glared at Mo Yen viciously before saying, Father! Although Mo Yan's results this time were not ideal, she still improved quite a lot. It's just that Mo Yen is a little too kind-hearted. She even saved 2 unknown people when she returned from the outside. Mo Yen immediately raised her head and looked at the middle-aged man when she heard that. She said, pitifully, Father, the 2 of them are so pitiful. They lay on the ground covered in blood. If Yen didn't save them, they would have been eaten by the beast sooner or later. How can Yen just watch them die? The middle-aged man rubbed Mo Yan's head lovingly and smiled. Since Yen saved them, you can settle them down in the estate first. However, Yen, you have to remember that not just anyone can be saved. Do you understand? I know that father is the best. Mo Yen immediately smiled happily. Just like that, Jianqin and Xin Jian were brought into the Mo clan. They were arranged to stay in a lower class room. Rooms like that were usually reserved for the servants of the Mo clan. Soon after Jianqin was brought into the room, he slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with weakness and exhaustion. He had regained consciousness half a day ago, but he was just too weak right now. The power of his soul had basically been depleted, so he needed to recover as soon as possible. As a result, he chose to continue pretending to be unconscious so that he could recover the power of his soul. He had also heard the conversation between Mo Yen and the patriarch of the Mo clan. The Mo clan. Jianqin looked around and murmured to himself. He checked his wounds and immediately began to heal, restoring the shattered bones in his body. Jianqin was unconscious before, so he was unable to unleash the full recovery of the chaotic body. As a result, his wounds were still extremely heavy. However, now that Jianqin had taken the initiative to heal, the recovery of the chaotic body was immediately on full display. His shattered organs and bones began to regenerate at a visible rate. However, this was the Mo clan. Jianqin did not want to reveal his identity as a Radiant Saint Master, so he did not use Radiant Saint Force this time. A day later, Jianqin's shattered bones had completely recovered, allowing him to move again. Fortunately, he directly sat up on the stone bed and continued to heal. At the same time, the power of his soul slowly recovered as well. However, compared to the recovery of his body, the power of his soul seemed like a snail. Xin Jian lay beside Jianqin. He was still unconscious. The two of them shared the same stone bed. Jianqin and Xin Jian were like droplets of water in the ocean. They did not raise any attention at all. At the same time, no one came to check on them. It was as if no one in the Mo clan remembered them. Jianqin was more than happy to see this happen. Without anyone disturbing him, he could recover his strength in the shortest amount of time possible. As long as he recovered, he would be able to deal with any dangers he encountered in the Mo clan easily. I used the twin swords when I lost my mind. I need to kill the ancestor of the Lu family. Although it's impossible for a god like him to know about the twin swords, he's still a problem. As he healed, Jianqin secretly thought back to his battle with the ancestor of the Lu family. He had already listed the ancestor as a target that he had to kill. Lu Fei stole the Lu family's heirloom. What is the Lu family's heirloom? However, the matter at hand is to heal. Once I recover, I'll slowly look through Lu Fei's space ring, Jianqin murmured inside. At this moment, a series of footsteps rang out from outside. Soon after, the door was pushed open and Mo Yen stood outside in a luxurious white dress. She stared inside curiously with her lively eyes. "Oh, you're awake?" Mo Yen stared at Jianqin in surprise. Jianqin had not cleaned off the blood on him, so it had already dried up. He seemed like a bloody person, but Mo Yen did not find it terrifying. Jianqin slowly opened his eyes and got off the bed. He clasped his fist at Mo Yen at the entrance and said, "I am Jianqin. Thank you for saving me, young miss." Mo Yen stared at Jianqin in surprise. She pointed at Jianqin and stammered, "You can actually stand up. Sister Shiyu said that you're very heavily injured and that all your bones have disappeared. Even with the best medicine, you won't be able to recover that easily. But it's only been a day." Chapter 16, 79. Oh, no wonder you recovered so quickly. As it turns out, you still have very high-quality healing pills on you. Mo Yen suddenly understood. She tilted her head and studied Jianchen carefully. She continued, I can't sense any pressure from you at all, so your cultivation must not be very high. You're in possession of such high-quality healing pills with such a weak cultivation. It looks like you're quite extraordinary. A gleam of light flickered through Mo Yan's eyes. A sliver of craftiness appeared in her eyes as she stared at Jianchen with some ill intentions. It was as if Jianchen was no longer a person, but a huge treasure trove. Jianchen could tell with a single glance that Mo Yan was still an inexperienced young lady. He smiled. Young miss, you overestimate me. I only obtained this pill by chance when I accidentally barged into the dwelling of a senior. Although it's very effective at healing, I only have one. Ah, you only have one pill like that? I was hoping to get some more from you for my father. Mo Yan was disappointed. Jianchen chuckled aloud when he heard that. He said, It's rare for the young miss to be so filial. In order to repay the young miss for saving me, I will definitely give you a pill like that if I obtain it again in the future. Is that true? Mo Yan's eyes lit up as she immediately became excited. Of course, Jianchen swore. Mo Yan, how many times have I told you? Don't believe everything other people say. Why are you still like this? Humph. How can those high-grade healing pills be so easy to obtain? Every single one of them is extremely valuable. As for the so-called cave dwelling of a senior, that is even more nonsense. Even if we really encounter a senior's cave dwelling in front of us, I'm afraid we won't be able to enter. A rather cold voice rang out from outside as soon as Jianchen finished speaking. With that, Shiyu appeared silently at the entrance. She wore white clothes and her beautiful face was rather cold. She glared at Jianchen with her watery eyes, as if she wanted to see through him completely. Two black-clothed guards followed behind Shiyu. They were both at the Origin Realm, and they stared at Jianchen emotionlessly. Sister Shiyu, why have you come? Mo Yan immediately ran over to Shiyu's side and stuck out her tongue mischievously. Shiyu glared at Mo Yan viciously before saying to Jianchen, It doesn't matter who you are or why you're injured. Mo Yan has saved you, so I don't wish for you to lie to her. Miss Mo Yan is indeed a kind-hearted person, but I, Jianchen, am not a person who bites the hand that feeds me. I, Jianchen, will remember Miss Mo Yan's saving grace. If there is an opportunity in the future, I will definitely repay you. Farewell. With that, Jianchen carried the unconscious Xinjian and wanted to leave the Mo clan. Although he had not completely recovered from his wounds and his strength had not returned to his peak, he could at least protect himself. After leaving the Mo clan, he could use Radiant Saint Force to heal faster. He would recover much faster than when he was in the Mo clan. Oi! You haven't even recovered, so how can you leave? It's so dangerous outside and your cultivation is so weak. It'll be very difficult for you to survive outside. Mo Yan refused to let Jianchen leave. She directly blocked the entrance with her arms wide open. In the past, my father saved sister, Shiyu, from the outside world. Afterwards, she broke through to Deity very quickly and became one of the 6 great elders of our Mo clan. My father's actions back then were praised by my great-grandfather. Now, I've saved 2 people from outside after so much difficulty. Although I don't expect you to be as outstanding as Sister Shiyu, I've still done something similar to what my father did back then. This is the first time I've saved someone, so how can you leave just like that? Mo Yan said sadly. She was very dejected. Afterwards, she said to Shiyu, Sister Shiyu, don't you think I'm really useless? When my father saved people, he was praised by my great-grandfather many times. Yet I'm in such a hurry to leave as soon as I wake up after saving them. Shiyu looked at Mo Yan with a slight headache. Before Mo Yan was born, only a few people in the Mo clan knew about her identity. However, ever since Mo Yan was born, she basically told everyone in the Mo clan about her origins with her big mouth. So basically everyone in the clan knew about her. However, Shiyu was unable to get angry when she saw Mo Yan's sorrowful appearance. She had watched Mo Yan grow up. Although they were not related by blood, she had already begun to treat Mo Yan as her own younger sister. You better stay in the Mo clan and heal. It won't be too late to leave after you've recovered. Don't waste Mo Yan's good intentions, she said to Jianqin. Jianqin hesitated slightly when he heard that. He really had no interest in staying in the Mo clan, as it would delay his recovery. However, when he saw how dejected Mo Yan was, he found it rather difficult to waste her good intentions, so he agreed. He said, "If that's the case, we'll be troubling you for a few more days." Mo Yan immediately smiled from ear to ear. After chatting with Jianqin casually for a while, she left. The patriarch sat before his desk in a study in the depths of the Mo clan. He held a book in his hand as he read it with great interest. Shiyu sat before him very casually. "Father, I feel like the two people Mo Yan saved are not as simple as they seem on the surface," said Shiyu. "Oh, tell me what you think. What's not simple about them?" The patriarch asked calmly, as if he did not care at all. "The person called Jianqin is recovering far too quickly. I've checked his wounds before, and they were extremely severe. Even with the best healing pills, he'll need a very long time to recover. Yet he's basically made a full recovery in just a short day. Although there are a few pills of very high quality that can achieve the same effect, they're extremely precious and priceless. It's impossible for a person who hasn't even reached godhood to possess a pill like that," said Shiyu. She was unable to tell Jianqin's exact strength, but she could roughly determine that Jianqin was at reciprocity from his presence. It was impossible for him to be at godhood. This was because she was a deity herself. She did not sense the pressure that a deity should possess from Jianqin at all. Shiyu did not even think about becoming a god because gods were existences that could be considered as ancestors in a clan like the Mo clan. However, Shiyu could tell that Shunjian was at peak reciprocity with a single glance. There's no lack of people with special, fortuitous encounters in the Saint's world, so there's no need to worry too much about this. Since Yen-Er has saved them, just let them stay in the clan for now. Let them leave once they've recovered, just in case Yen-Er becomes unhappy," said the patriarch indifferently. "That's exactly what I was thinking," said Shiyu. At this moment, the patriarch gently placed down the book in his hand. His face was filled with helplessness, and he sighed gently. "Has Yen-Er considered the marriage proposal from the young master of the Audiobook sword sect?" "Father, Mo Yan is very determined. She'd rather die than become the partner of the young master of the Audiobook sword sect." Shiyu sighed gently as well. She was filled with helplessness. The patriarch made his way to the window and stared at the trees and grass outside in a daze. He said softly, "Actually, I don't want Yen-Er to marry the young master of the Audiobook sword sect either because he's not worthy of my Yen-Er at all. It's just that the Liu family and the Ando clan are just too close right now. They can work together at any time. Our Mo clan has been forced by the situation to seek allies, or our Mo clan probably won't be able to survive for too long in this region." Shiyu was gloomy. She said in guilt, "I'm sorry, father. It's all because of me. It's all because of me that the Mo clan is in danger." Chapter 1680. Father, what should we do next? Must we force Mo Yan to become the partner of the young master of the Audiobook sword sect for the sake of the clan? A sliver of sorrow and helplessness appeared on her face. She had watched Mo Yan grow up, and their relationship was like that of sisters. She really could not bear to see Mo Yan marry the young master of the Audiobook sword sect. If Mo Yan liked the young master of the Audiobook sword sect, then so be it. But Mo Yan did not like the young master at all. She loathed him very much. The patriarch stood by the window, quietly as he gazed at the scenery outside. His gaze was deep as he said, "Let's try to persuade Yen-Er. If Yen-Er really doesn't want to, we'll give up on the marriage." "Father, what if the Liu family and the Ando clan work together against us? What should we do then?" Shiyu asked worriedly. A sliver of sharpness immediately flashed through the patriarch's eyes when he heard that. He said coldly, "Although a part of the reason why the Liu family and the Ando clan are working together against us is because of your extraordinary talent and because they're afraid of you becoming a god, the most important reason is because of the treasure. The treasure has been in the secret possession of our 3 clans for so many years. Since they want to break the rules and take our share, we can only take them down with us. Since they don't want our Mo clan to obtain it, we definitely won't let them obtain it either." Shiyu was surprised when she heard that. She stared at the patriarch in disbelief. "Father, are you going to—" "That's right. Once the news of Duanmu's divine king's jade spreads, you should be able to imagine just what kind of uproar it will cause. At that time, let alone all the powerful clans in the Dong'an province, even countless experts from the entire divine kingdom of Pingtian will rush over. Before these powerful clans, the Liu family and the Ando clan are nothing. I hope the Liu family and the Ando clan don't force me to do that." Jianchen healed steadily in the Mo clan. Although he did not possess any status in the Mo clan, Jianchen did not mind at all. In his eyes, the Mo clan was only a passerby. He planned on leaving with Shen Jian once Jian recovered. Shen Jian only woke up slowly on the 3rd day. Very soon he understood the situation from Jianchen and immediately began to heal. During this time, Mo Yen also sent over some medicine. Although the effects were not particularly obvious, Jianchen still accepted them. Afterwards, he used all the medicine on Shen Jian to hasten Shen Jian's recovery. As Shen Jian healed, Jianchen learned some basic information about the region from Mo Yen. There were a total of 4 peak organizations in the region, and they were the Mo clan, the Liu family, the Ando clan, and the Audiobook sword sect. Every single organization possessed an ancestor who was a god, and they ruled over a region of several tens of millions of kilometers. Many smaller clans and tribes in the region were subordinate to the 4 clans, and they would offer up treasures and various resources every 1,000 years. Above the Mo clan, the Liu family, the Ando clan, and the Audiobook sword sect was the Dong'an province. The Dong'an province was the name of a region that spanned several 100 million kilometers. The territories of the 4 clans were all under the Dong and Lord's control. Jianchen asked which plane of the 49 planes of the Saints' world we're on, or one of the 81 great planets. At this moment, Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out in Jianchen's head. Jianchen immediately asked Mo Yen, but Mo Yen became doubtful after hearing that. She asked, "What 49 planes? And what are the 81 great planets? I've never heard of them before." Looks like she doesn't know much. She doesn't even know about the 49 great planes and the 81 great planets. If we want to know where we are right now, we need to ask the patriarch of the Mo clan, or even that god of the Mo clan. I can only find the direction to the Moon God Hall if I know where we are right now, Fairy Haoyue said in pity. At this moment, the ancestor of the Liu family, which was also one of the 4 great clans in the region, healed with lingering fear several tens of million kilometers away from the Mo clan. His pale face was sunken. "The treasures of my Liu family can't be stolen so easily. It doesn't matter who the organization behind you is. The old man will never let you go. And that traitor Liu Fei, if it weren't for the fact that your soul had been wiped out, the old man would definitely have extracted your soul and tortured you in the cruelest way possible to vent my anger," the ancestor of the Liu family said through gritted teeth. His voice was filled with heavy killing intent. Suddenly, the ancestor of the Liu family raised his hand and drew on the ground with his finger. Very soon, he drew out the portraits of Jianchen and Shen Jian according to his memories. At the same time, he removed 2 drops of blood from his body and dripped them onto the portraits of Jianchen and Shen Jian. Immediately, the portraits became filled with their presences. The blood came from Jianchen and Shen Jian during the battle a few days ago. It was now being used by the ancestor of the Liu family, becoming crucial to finding the 2 of them. Afterwards, the ancestor of the Lu family dug up the stone slab with the portraits of Jianqin and Xinjian. With a wave of his hand, the stone slab was sent out of the secret room. At the same time, he said in a dignified voice, "Send all the people to the various places and search for the two of them. Immediately report to me as soon as you receive any news." "Yes, ancestor." A deep voice rang out from outside the secret room. A black figure left with the stone slab before using a special secret technique to make countless copies. Every single copy possessed a sliver of Jianqin and Xinjian's presences. In the saint's world, not only did a person's appearance matter, but they also needed a person's presence. This was because the population of the saint's world was just far too great. There were naturally many people who looked exactly the same. At a time like this, it all depended on presences. Humans had the presence of humans, demons had the presence of demons, and immortals naturally had the presence of immortals. Every single person's presence was different, so there was no need to worry about being mistaken. Ando clan, Mo clan, Automo sword sect. I hope you're not behind this, or Old Man will definitely wipe out your entire clans. Even if it's one of the powerful clans in the Dong and province, Old Man won't let you off so easily, the ancestor of the Lu family said with a sunken voice. With a flip of his hand, a jade bottle immediately appeared. Chapter 1681. The ancestor of the Lu family stared at the jade bottle in his hand for quite some time. In the end, he unscrewed the lid painfully and poured out a white pill the size of a longan fruit. As soon as the pill appeared, the entire room was immediately filled with a dense medicinal fragrance. Just a whiff of it was enough to make people feel relaxed and refreshed. Their meridians were unobstructed, and they felt refreshed all over. It was obvious that the grade of the pill was very high. Just the fragrance of the pill was enough to show healing effects. If the pill was consumed, the effects would be even more obvious. The ancestor of the Lu family glanced at the white pill in his hand reluctantly before closing his eyes and ingesting it without any hesitation. His heart ached after ingesting the pill. He had always viewed this pill as a life-saving item because the grade of this pill was extremely high. To a heavenly deity like him, it had the ability to bring the dead back to life. It was equivalent to a second life. He never thought that he would waste it just like that. The Dong and province was an existence that controlled several 100 million kilometers of the region. Its status was supreme, and all the clans in the region would pay tribute to the province from time to time. At the very center of the province was an extremely large city that had been constructed on a vast plain. The city was extremely majestic, and its walls were several 100 meters tall. From afar, it seemed like a curtain that connected the sky to the earth. It was so long that one could not see the end of it, directly extending to the horizon. This city was the provincial city of the Dong and province. It was also named Dong and province. If the 7 capital cities of the Tianyuan continent were compared to the provincial city, they would be like ants compared to elephants. They were not on the same level at all. The provincial city was the symbol of the Dong and province. Basically, most of the clans that possessed a certain level of strength in the provincial city resided in the provincial city. As a result, the organization in the provincial city was extremely complicated. Who knew how many clans and organizations were mixed in? At this moment, a dignified, middle-aged man in luxurious robes sat in a majestic hall within the provincial city. He sipped tea leisurely as 2 female attendants served him politely. Jean, he greets the patriarch. At this moment, a man in black silently appeared in front of the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes and spoke respectfully. Zhang Yi's appearance caused light to flash through the middle-aged man's eyes. Even with his mental state, he could not help but feel a ripple at that moment. There was even a sliver of anticipation and urgency in his eyes. After ordering the 2 maids to leave, he cautiously laid down a spirit formation in the surroundings before asking, "Zhang, have you obtained the item? Have you dealt with Lu Fei?" Reporting to Patriarch, this subordinate has been waiting at the agreed place for several days. but I have not seen any trace of Lu Fei, Zhan Yi said, respectfully. What? The middle-aged man's face sank, and his gaze instantly became sharp. He said in a deep voice, Then did you find out anything from the Lu family? Patriarch, the news of Lu Fei's betrayal did come from the Lu family, but Lu Fei did not seem to have escaped. He was slain by the ancestor of the Lu family, Zhan Yi replied. Lu Fei, that piece of trash. The formation disk I gave him is enough to trap early gods for 2 days. That's enough time for him to meet up with you. But in the end, Lu Tian still caught up to him. Not only did he waste such a precious formation disk for nothing, but he even made the Lu family take precautions. It'll be even more difficult to obtain that item from the Lu family in the future. The middle-aged man was exasperated. With his shrewdness, it was impossible for him to lose control of his emotions. But Lu Fei's fate was just too important to him, so he struggled to remain calm. Zhan Yi hesitated for a moment, then continued, Master, my spies have also found out something. Recently, the Lu family has sent out a large number of people to secretly search for these 2 people of unknown origin. Zhan Yi took out a scroll and passed it to the middle-aged man. At the same time, he said, I obtained this scroll after killing a clansman of the Lu family. The middle-aged man accepted the scroll and unfurled it. The people in the scroll were Jianqin and Xinjian. After a moment of thought, the middle-aged man ordered Zhan Yi, Go and find out why the Lu family is looking for these 2 people. At the same time, arrange for people to keep a close eye on the Lu family. Remember, you have to do this secretly. You can't let the other organizations in the provincial city discover what we're doing. I know what to do. What about the Mo clan and the Ando clan? Zhan Yi asked. Even the Lu family, which we have the greatest confidence in, has failed. If we move against the Mo clan and the Ando clan, our chances of success will become even slimmer. It's fine if we fail. What I worry about the most is that once we cause too much of a disturbance, we'll attract the attention of the other organizations in the provincial city. It'll be extremely disadvantageous for us. There's no need to worry about the Mo clan and the Ando clan for now. Shen Jian sat on the stone bed and healed in an inferior room in the Mo clan. Jianqin sat to one side as he tidied through the space ring he had obtained from Lu Fei. Although there were quite a few things in Lu Fei's space ring, most of them were cheap items that were useless to Jianqin. There were also a few materials that had been appraised by Fairy Haoyue as low grade or even inferior. They were all worthless. However, Jianqin did not remain silent. He stowed away some low-grade healing pills from Lu Fei's space ring. Aside from that, there were a few truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills, as well as Lu Fei's personal notes on cultivation. Jianqin only glanced through Lu Fei's personal notes before tossing them away. However, the truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills were still useless in Jianqin's eyes because they were only at the first grade of the truth tier. They were at the very bottom of the truth tier. Jianqin, you can't move about the saint's world without divine crystals. Divine crystals are condensed from pure origin energy. Not only can they be used for cultivation, but they're also a form of currency in the saint's world. You can exchange these useless truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills for some divine crystals. Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out in Jianqin's head. Divine crystals? Jianqin's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. He immediately tossed the cultivation method to one side. With a flip of his hand, he pulled out a large handful of thumb-sized crystals from Lu Fei's space ring. Every single crystal shone brightly and hid some pure origin energy. Are these the divine crystals you're talking about? Jianqin asked. Correct, these are divine crystals. Divine crystals are divided into supreme grade, high grade, medium grade, and low grade. These are only low-grade divine crystals, Fairy Haoyue said. Jianqin checked through Lu Fei's space ring carefully and discovered that there were over 1,000 low-grade divine crystals in total. There was not a single mid grade divine crystal. At this moment, Jianchen's face changed. He pulled out a square box from Lu Fei's space ring and studied it carefully. This treasure box was forged from an unknown material. It was extremely hard, and its surface was densely covered with formations. It emitted waves of powerful energy fluctuations, causing this treasure box to possess a powerful defensive power that even celestial gods would find difficult to break through. Is the thing inside the box the supreme treasure of the Lu family? Jianchen studied the box as he asked. However, at this moment, a powerful energy fluctuation suddenly came from beside him. Accompanying it was an aura that was rapidly rising. A sliver of joy flashed through Jianchen's eyes. He casually shoved the box into his space ring, and with a flash, he appeared outside the room. When Jianchen left the room, a layer of formations appeared in the surroundings. They were all regular formations, cast down to protect the building. They possessed a certain level of defense, where even late reciprocity experts would struggle to break through them. However, as soon as the formations appeared, they immediately began to collapse and shatter, reduced to nothingness. Afterwards, Jianchen's room was reduced to dust by a powerful pulse of energy, revealing Shen Jian, who sat on the stone bed. Shen Jian had finally begun to break through to godhood after making a full recovery. Chapter 1682. The powerful presence and ripples of energy from Shen Jian's breakthrough spread through the entire Mo clan in a single instance, shocking everyone. At that moment, whether it was the lowly servants or the esteemed members of the upper echelon, they all stopped what they were doing. They all looked in Shen Jian's direction as undisguised envy and joy filled their faces. Godhood, godhood. Another person has actually broken through to godhood in our Mo clan. This is fantastic. Every time a godhood expert appears, the strength of our Mo clan will increase by a few levels. Many of the senior members of the Mo clan cried out in surprise and joy before flying towards Shen Jian's direction. Aside from the patriarch's residence, there were 6 other majestic halls in the Mo clan. Every single hall had origin realm experts who stood guard there silently. It was more than enough to demonstrate just how great the statuses of the masters of the 6 halls were for them to have origin realm experts as guards. They were the godhood experts of the Mo clan, as well as the elders of the Mo clan. At this moment, the 6 elders who cultivated in the 6 halls opened their eyes at the same time. They all looked in Shen Jian's direction with shining eyes. One of the women among them was Shiyu. Someone has actually broken through to godhood. Fantastic. Our Mo clan has gained another elder now. I wonder who it is. Shiyu murmured. She immediately stood up and made her way outside. She wanted to see the person who had just broken through. When Shiyu emerged from the hall, the 5 elders who had been cultivating in the other 5 halls emerged as well. Someone reaching godhood was no small matter to the Mo clan. After all, there were only a few godhood experts in the entire Mo clan, including the patriarch. As a result, the appearance of a godhood expert was a joyous matter for the Mo clan. That's strange. Why is the presence of someone breaking through to godhood coming from that direction? If I remember correctly, that should be where the servants live. The few godhood elders who had just arrived outside became slightly doubtful. Even early receival cultivators had their own place to cultivate in the Mo clan, let alone late reciprocity cultivators. It was impossible for them to be arranged to stay in the servants' quarters. Godhood experts, even deities, were elders in the Mo clan. They were peak experts, while origin realm experts were the backbone of the clan. Even though many origin realm experts did not possess great statuses, it was impossible for them to be arranged to live in the servants' quarters. Shiyu stared in Shen Jian's direction. A thought flashed through her head, and she immediately became surprised and doubtful. There was a sliver of disbelief on her face as she thought, "It can't be him, right? Sister Shiyu, has someone broken through to godhood? Fantastic! Our Mo clan has gained another godhood expert. Sister Shiyu, let's go see which uncle has broken through to godhood." Mo Yin skipped over from afar. Her face was filled with excitement. Shiyu nodded and made her way toward Shen Jian, with Mo Yin in both surprise and doubt. At this moment, a large number of people had already gathered around Shen Jian. There were servants, guards, and a few members of the upper echelon of the Mo clan who had arrived first. All of them stood in the distance, quietly as they stared at Shen Jian. All of them were shocked and surprised. In particular, the upper echelon of the Mo clan felt extremely strange. "Old Zhou, who is this person? Why have I never seen him before? And this is where the servants live. Since this person possesses such strength, why is he still living here? I was just about to ask you, but you asked me first." A deity realm expert actually appeared in the residence of the servants. If word of this were to spread out, many of the members of the upper echelon of the Mo clan communicated secretly. They all stared at Shen Jian in surprise as they were filled with doubt. Jianqin stood to one side with his arms crossed. He mixed in with the crowd, so he did not raise too much attention. However, all of his attention was focused on Shen Jian. At the same time, he observed the surroundings silently. If anyone dared to stop Shen Jian from breaking through, he would strike out without any hesitation. Very soon, the 6 godhood experts of the Mo clan arrived as well. With their arrival, the people in the surroundings all moved aside and looked at them with respect. Even the upper echelon of the Mo clan behaved like that. "Ah, isn't he the person I saved? How can he be the one breaking through to godhood?" When Mo Yin saw that the person breaking through was actually Shen Jian, her mouth immediately dropped in shock. Disbelief filled her face. Shiyu said nothing. She stared at Shen Jian with mixed feelings. She had also never thought that Shen Jian would break through to godhood. Although she could tell that Shen Jian's strength had already reached the peak of reciprocity when Mo Yin saved Shen Jian and Jianqin, she did not take it to heart. This was because there was an insurmountable barrier between the origin realm and godhood. Comprehending the laws of the world and obtaining the key to godhood was countless times more difficult than breaking through from sainthood to the origin realm. Even among 100 peak reciprocity experts, it would be difficult for even one of them to reach godhood. It was exactly because of how difficult godhood was that Shiyu did not take Shen Jian's peak reciprocity cultivation seriously. After all, the Mo clan did not have experts of the same level of cultivation. The 5 other elders of the Mo clan looked around. All of their faces were rather strange. One of the burly, bare-chested men had no idea how to react when he saw this. He smiled gently. "I never thought that the fellow who has just broken through would be staying here. How surprising." The patriarch of the Mo clan had also arrived. He knew about the existence of Jianqin and Shen Jian. Originally, he had agreed to let Jianqin and Shen Jian remain in the Mo clan for the sake of his beloved daughter, Mo Yin. Once the 2 of them recovered, he would let them leave. However, with Shen Jian's breakthrough, the patriarch immediately became conflicted. However, the patriarch made up his mind very soon. Determination filled his eyes. If it was a peak reciprocity expert, his Mo clan would not have cared, but if it was a godhood expert, they would try to rope him in no matter what. Whether it was the patriarch or the 6 elders, they all remained there as Shen Jian broke through. None of them left first, nor did they cause any disturbances to disturb Shen Jian. Chapter 1683. Several hours later, Shen Jian's breakthrough finally came to a successful end. As the powerful aura around his body slowly withdrew, his tightly shut eyes abruptly opened at this moment. The moment Shen Jian opened his eyes, a light that seemed almost tangible flashed through his eyes. It possessed an extremely sharp sword intent. When the 6 elders of the Mo clan met his gaze, all of them could not help but shudder uncontrollably. Just from Shen Jian's gaze, The 6 of them felt an invisible pressure. The patriarch's eyes narrowed as well. His gaze toward Shin Jian immediately underwent a drastic change. There was even some sternness in his eyes. This person is not weak. Although he has only just broken through to early deity, there's probably very few early deities who are his opponent, thought the patriarch. Before Shin Jian could reply, he clasped his fist toward Shin Jian with a smile and said, "I am the patriarch of the Mo clan Mo Yen. Congratulations on breaking through to godhood, brother Shin Jian. From today onwards, our Dong and prefecture will have another godhood expert." The patriarch of the Mo clan spoke extremely politely. Coupled with his current expression and attitude, people who did not know better would really believe that the 2 of them knew each other long ago, and that their relationship was quite deep. Shan Jian also clasped his fist towards the patriarch. "You're being too polite. There are quite a few godhood experts in the Dong and prefecture. I've only just reached godhood, so I'm not worth mentioning. It's just that we've caused quite a lot of trouble in the past few days that we've been healing in your clan." The patriarch waved his hand and said without minding at all, "What trouble? Brother Shin Jian is far too polite. It's just that my daughter, Yen doesn't know any better. She actually didn't inform me beforehand that brother Shin Jian would be visiting my Mo clan so that I could properly entertain brother Shin Jian." With that, the patriarch glared at Mo Yen viciously. Mo Yen stuck out her tongue and made a funny face at the patriarch. However, she was overjoyed inside. She had never thought that she would end up like her father, saving a godhood expert from outside. After exchanging some pleasantries with the patriarch straightened his face and said, "I truly feel apologetic for my lack of hospitality this time. May I ask which sect or clan brother Shin Jian comes from? I will definitely pay a visit in the future and personally apologize to brother Shin Jian." Whether it was Jianshin or Shan Jian, they both understood that the patriarch wanted to investigate their backgrounds. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint the patriarch. We've only just arrived in the saints' world, so we don't belong to any organization," Shin Jian said. The patriarch was surprised when he heard that. He asked in surprise, "You've only just arrived in the saints' world? Have you come up from a lower world?" "Yes," Shin Jian replied. She used gaze narrowed as well. Clearly, there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. On the other hand, the other elders looked at Shan Jian with a trace of surprise as well. The patriarch was overjoyed. He clasped his fist towards Jianshin and Shin Jian and said, "If you think highly of me, why don't you stay in my Mo clan for now? My Mo clan is small, but we do have a god. We still have a place to stand in the Anong province." Jianshin had never thought about staying in the Mo clan. Now that Shin Jian had recovered and reached godhood, he was already prepared to leave the Mo clan with Shan Jian. Just when Jianshin wanted to turn down the patriarch's invitation, Shin Jian beat him to it. "We just happen to have nowhere else to go, and we're not familiar with the saints' world either. If the patriarch doesn't mind, we can only trouble you for a few more days." The patriarch rejoiced inside. He waved his hand without minding it at all. "It's no trouble at all. Brother Shin Jian and brother Jianshin can stay in my Mo clan for as long as you want." Just like that, Shin Jian and Jianshin stayed in the Mo clan for now. Now that Shin Jian had reached godhood, his status in the Mo clan was no longer the same as before. In order to show how much importance he attached to Shin Jian, the patriarch constructed a 7th, majestic hall in the Mo clan for Shin Jian to cultivate in. Normally, only the elders of the Mo clan could possess such a hall. Aside from that, the patriarch also arranged for a group of Origin Realm experts to guard the surroundings of the hall for Shin Jian. Of course, this was not for surveillance. Instead, it was to show off the supreme status of godhood experts in the Mo clan. At this moment, Jianshin and Shan Jian sat before each other in the 7th hall of the Mo clan. "Originally, I planned on leaving the Mo clan after you recovered, so that I could venture out. But why did you choose to stay? Our comprehension of laws far exceeds our personal strength. As long as we have enough cultivation resources, our strength can rapidly increase. Staying in the Mo clan will only hinder our cultivation, Genshin asked in confusion. Every step after godhood required a corresponding comprehension of laws. Both he and Xinjian had reached the major achievement of sword origin. That was enough for the two of them to cultivate to God without any obstructions. All they lacked was a tremendous amount of cultivation resources. Although they could also absorb the origin energy between heaven and earth to increase their strength, the speed would be much slower. Genshin, the reason why I chose to stay in the Mo clan is because there are still people waiting for us in the lower world. Aside from increasing our strength, we need to gain a firm foothold in the Saints' world in the next 10,000 years so that we can pave the way for the people behind us. The Mo clan is a good choice, Xinjian said. He looked at Genshin and said, "And you still have some problems with you. Once you lose your mind, you won't be able to distinguish between friend and foe. I won't be able to stop you, and I might even die to your hands." Genshin fell silent when he heard that. He thought about the people waiting for him in the lower world. Not only was there his wife, but there were also his parents and many good friends. Although he could come across some fortuitous encounters in the outside world, it was also life-threatening. He could die at any time. It did not matter if he died, but if he did, it would be even more difficult for his wife, children, and parents to survive when they came to the Saints' world. Aside from that, the lives of Shangguanmu, our newbies Xiaoling, Xiaojin, the White Tiger, Ruijin, Honglian, Blackfish, and so on in the Bright Moon Divine Hall rested on his shoulders. If he died, all of them could die as well. Genshin sighed inside. With a flip of his hand, a space ring appeared in his hand. He took out all the low-quality godhood crystals he had obtained from Lu Fei and said, "If I want to break through again with my chaotic body, I need an extremely tremendous amount of energy. These divine crystals are completely useless to me, so take them. We need to increase our strength as quickly as possible right now." Xinjian held the thumb-sized divine crystals and sensed the pure origin energy within them. His eyes immediately lit up, and he said, "If I have enough divine crystals, I can reach mid-deity in the shortest amount of time possible." Chapter 1684. You'll need quite a lot of divine crystals to break through to mid-deity. It won't be easy to gather so many divine crystals in a short amount of time, Genshin said after some thought. Afterwards, he took out a few ancient scrolls and said, "Aside from the divine crystals, I've also found a few truth tier, cultivation methods, and battle skills in Lu Fei's space ring. However, they're all at the first grade. Take a look and see if there's anything you can use." Xinjian glanced at the ancient scrolls and said, "The first grade of the truth tier is completely useless to me. Let's just sell these things. They should be able to be exchanged for some divine crystals." That's exactly what I'm planning to do. I've already heard that there's a relatively large city several million kilometers away from the Mo clan. I'll sell these things tomorrow. I'll get as much as I can so that your strength can increase as quickly as possible. After that, I'll go to the Lu family, said Genshin. The Lu family? Do you plan on wiping out the Lu family? Xinjian asked. A few days ago, he and Genshin had almost died to the hands of the ancestor of the Lu family. He also felt resentment towards the Lu family. The origins of my azulite swords are very extraordinary. Once the news of me possessing the two swords spreads through the Saints' world, I'll be doomed. Last time, when I fought the ancestor of the Lu family, I lost my rationality and used the swords before him. As a result, I need to kill the ancestor of the Lu family, just in case he leaks the news of the swords, Genshin said coldly. Xinjian nodded in thought. He could not help but think of the azulite swords that Genshin carried on his back all the time. He felt extremely curious as well. He wondered just what was so special about the two swords that did not seem particularly impressive to him, such that Genshin would be so careful with them. The next day, a flying vehicle several hundred meters across slowly rose up from the Mo clan and shot off into the distance. Jianchen and Xinjian stood with their hands behind their backs on the deck of the flying vehicle. They stood side by side as they studied the vehicle curiously. Aside from them, there were several dozen black-clothed guards on the vehicle. They were all at the Origin Realm. They were scattered around the vehicle as they watched over it cautiously. Along the way, they would come across a few cultivators from the Saints' world who would immediately show fear and envy as soon as they saw this. They would leave the vehicle without any hesitation. Originally, Jianchen and Shanjian planned on directly traveling through the air, but when the patriarch learned that they were going out, he insisted that they take the vehicle no matter what. Not only was the vehicle very fast and did not need to consume Origin energy at all, but most importantly, it would show off their status even more. It really is extremely convenient to travel with this. It's completely powered by formations, and it can absorb the Origin energy of the world to replenish its energy. It's said that in times of emergency, it can even use divine crystals to activate second-grade formations, allowing it to move even faster. Even deities will struggle to catch up to it, Shen Jian praised as he studied the vehicle. This vehicle isn't cheap, although it's only a first-grade saint artifact. I've heard Mo Yen say that it's over 100 times more expensive than saint artifacts of the same grade. There are only 2 saint artifacts like this in the entire Mo clan, Jianchen said. A sliver of desire appeared in his eyes. If he possessed a high-grade vehicle, would that not mean that even over gods or divine king experts would struggle to catch up to him? It was basically a treasure for fleeing. Of course, Jianchen could only think about it. A high-grade vehicle was so expensive that it was not something he could possess. At the very least, he did not have the wealth to do so right now. Maple Leaf City was the only large city in a radius of several dozen million kilometers. It was only a few million kilometers away from the Mo clan. The 2 of them arrived outside Maple Leaf City very soon on the flying vehicle of the Mo clan. They stopped the vehicle outside the city and had the several dozen black-robed guards guard it. The 2 of them entered the city without taking any guards with them. Maple Leaf City was extremely large. The entire city was equivalent to the kingdom of Jessen on the Tianyuan continent. With such a large territory, there were naturally many clans of various sizes that split up the territory of the city. Jianchen had obtained a map of Maple Leaf City from the Mo clan before he had come, so he knew the distribution of shops in the city like the back of his hand. As soon as the 2 of them entered the city, they directly made their way to the center of the city along the busy main street. Many people sat on the 2 sides of the street, peddling items of low quality. Various cries rang out constantly. Of course, the people hawking on the streets of Maple Leaf City were not very strong. Almost all of them were Saint Realm warriors. Some of the items they sold were only useful to Saint Realm warriors. Many shops would not buy such low-level items. As Jianchen and Shen Jian made their way to the center of the city, they would enter a few shops from time to time. After comparing the prices, they gained a rough understanding of the prices of truth-tier vehicles and battle skills. However, to Jianchen and Shen Jian's delight, a first-grade truth-tier cultivation method could actually sell for over 10,000 low-grade divine crystals, while battle skills were even more expensive, selling for several tens of thousands of low-grade divine crystals. The prices had completely exceeded their expectations. In the end, Jianchen sold all the cultivation methods and battle skills he had obtained from Lu Fei in a shop called the Maple Leaf Pavilion in the center of the city. He obtained over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals in total. At this moment, Jianchen's eyes narrowed. He saw an immortal artifact sword on the shelves of the shop. Even though it was only an immortal artifact of the lowest quality, Jianchen's heart skipped a beat when he saw the sword. "Do you have mid-quality saint artifact flying swords for sale here?" Jianchen asked. A sliver of surprise flashed through the eyes of the old man who had just completed the transaction with Jianchen. He studied Jianchen and Shenzhen secretly and smiled. Our Maple Leaf Pavilion is the largest shop in Maple Leaf City, so we naturally have mid-quality Saint Artifact flying swords. We even have two of them, one of the 4th grade and the other of the 5th grade. Do you wish to purchase them? Chapter 1685. Let's take a look at these 2 flying swords first, Jianchen said calmly. He could not use the azulite swords in the saint's world, so he needed to prepare another one. Only then could he unleash his full strength. Although the origins of the azulite swords were extraordinary, due to the lack of materials when they were forged, the quality of the swords was not particularly high. They could only be regarded as medium-quality immortal artifacts. If he used other medium-quality saint artifacts, they would not weaken him at all. Sir, our Maple Leaf Pavilion may have medium-quality saint artifacts, but the price... The old man behind the counter looked at Jianchen with some hesitation. Jianchen and Shenzhen were even selling 1st grade truth tier cultivation methods and battle skills, so he could tell that the 2 of them were not rich. The price of a medium-quality saint artifact was not something the 2 of them could afford. Even if he wanted to look at it, it would be a waste. Most importantly, he could not make a decision on this matter. He needed to ask the manager of the Maple Leaf Pavilion. Jianchen's face sank slightly, and his gaze immediately became piercing. He asked, "Do I need to meet some requirements to look at the medium-quality saint artifacts of your Maple Leaf Pavilion?" The old man immediately trembled under Jianchen's piercing gaze. Even his face changed drastically at that moment, becoming rather pale. He felt like Jianchen's gaze was like 2 extremely sharp swords. Just Jianchen's gaze was enough to make him feel like he was surrounded by countless swords. His entire body ached as if he would be pierced by 10,000 swords if he moved. "Please calm down, sir. Please calm down. I'll go ask the manager right now." Because the medium-quality saint artifacts are placed on the highest floor of our Maple Leaf Pavilion. They are protected by layers of formations. Only the manager has the right to take you there, the old man said with a trembling voice. His forehead was covered with cold sweat. His gaze toward Jianchen was filled with fear. He was an early receival expert, so even a peak reciprocity expert would not be able to make him feel so pressured with just a gaze. Godhood. He must be a godhood expert. The old man was secretly shocked. Without any hesitation, he immediately ran off to contact the manager of the Maple Leaf Pavilion. Very soon, the old man walked out with a white-robed, scholarly middle-aged man. Jianchen looked at the middle-aged man and could tell that he had reached early reciprocity with a single glance. "I am Chu Fei, the manager of the Maple Leaf Pavilion. May I ask if the 2 of you are here to purchase a medium-quality saint artifact?" The middle-aged man asked Jianchen and Shenzhen enthusiastically. He studied the 2 of them secretly and discovered that he was unable to see through Jianchen and Shenzhen's strength at all. His heart immediately shivered, and he became even more respectful. "Take us there first," said Jianchen. "2 guests, please follow me." The middle-aged man made an inviting gesture to Jianchen and Shenzhen before leading the 2 of them to the top floor of the Maple Leaf Pavilion. The defenses of the top floor were extremely tight. It was surrounded by layers of formations, including illusions, killing, and defensive formations. Jianchen could not help but glance at it a few more times. With the strength of these formations, they'll be able to last for a while even if they're attacked by deities. Although they won't be able to threaten the lives of deities if they're trapped. Escaping won't be easy, Jianchen thought. At this moment, the middle-aged man opened the formations with a secret technique and led Jianchen and Shenzhen in. The 4th floor of the Maple Leaf Pavilion was very spacious and empty. There were only 6 items in the quiet hall, unlike the 1st floor, which was filled with all sorts of rank 5 items. Jianchen glanced over and discovered that the 6 items were basically all weapons. 3 of them were medium-quality saint artifacts, while the other 3 were low-quality saint artifacts. They were extremely close to medium-quality saint artifacts. Jianqin did not pay too much attention to the other saint artifacts. His gaze landed on the two medium-quality saint artifact swords, and it seemed like all of his attention had been drawn away. The two swords were over a meter long and 2 fingers wide. One of them was completely fire-red and shone with red light. It seemed like a roaring flame. This is a fire-attributed saint artifact. If an expert who has comprehended the laws of fire uses this sword, their strength will increase drastically. Of course, even if they've comprehended the laws of other elements, they can still use this sword. They just won't be able to unleash the full power of the sword, the manager introduced from the side. He was extremely enthusiastic. In reality, his attitude had changed drastically after learning that Jianqin and Xinjian were extremely likely to be godhood experts. Jianqin only stared at the fire-attributed sword for a while before losing interest. He looked at the second sword. The second sword was completely silver-white. It shone with a hazy white light. To no surprise, it was a 5th-grade saint artifact. On the other hand, the red flying sword was also a medium-quality saint artifact, but it was a 4th-grade saint artifact. Manager Chu, may I ask how much this sword is for? Jianqin stared at the sword and asked without even looking back. This sword is called Flying Snow. It was personally forged by the artifact forging master Xenom from the Dong and province. At the same time, it's the most precious item in our Maple Leaf Pavilion. It's known as the treasure of the pavilion, and it's priced at 100,000 mid-grade divine crystals, said the manager. After a moment of thought, Jianqin said, Manager Chu, can you keep the Flying Snow sword for me? I'll come back in a few days to buy it. 100,000 mid-grade divine crystals were equivalent to 10 million low-grade divine crystals. All the divine crystals on Jianqin right now only amounted to just over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals. It was nowhere near enough to buy the sword. However, Jianqin was a godhood expert after all. He could even put up a fight against early gods. Obtaining 100,000 mid-grade divine crystals was only a matter of time. Of course, in reality, the Flying Snow sword has already been in our Maple Leaf Pavilion for over 1,000 years. No one has ever bought it, so it won't be a problem to keep it there for a few decades, or even a century. It looks like the Flying Snow sword will be able to find its owner very soon, the manager said in an extremely straightforward manner. Jianqin and Xinjian left Maple Leaf City with over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals. Afterwards, they returned to the Mo clan on their flying vehicle. Jianqin gave all the low-grade divine crystals to Xinjian so that he could assist Xinjian in increasing his strength. Once Xinjian reached early deity or late deity, he would be prepared to move against the ancestor of the Lu family. After Jianqin and Chu Li left Maple Leaf City, the manager of the Maple Leaf Pavilion stood before the city, lord politely within the city, lord's estate. He told the city, lord, everything that had happened in the Maple Leaf Pavilion without hiding anything. The city lord of Maple Leaf City was a middle-aged man with a dignified bearing. There was a faint aura of the divine realm emanating from him. After listening to the chief steward's report, he fell into a short contemplation. They only wanted the Flying Snow sword? A while later, the city lord asked sternly. Indeed, they only wanted to buy the Flying Snow sword. They didn't seem to have enough divine crystals on them, so they didn't buy the Flying Snow sword on the spot. They even told me to keep the sword for now. They'll come back in a few days to buy it, the manager said politely. The city lord waved his hand and said, All right, I understand. You're dismissed. After the manager left, the city lord flipped his hand, and a jade mirror immediately appeared. As he formed a seal, the jade mirror immediately flickered with light. A while later, the face of the patriarch of the Mo clan appeared. Brother Mo, the two people you spoke of have taken a fancy to the Flying Snow sword of my Maple Leaf Pavilion, but they're embarrassed, so they haven't bought it. Do you want this Flying Snow sword? The city lord smiled at the patriarch of the Mo clan. Yes, of course I want it. I'll send people to collect it right away. However, Brother Fong, we've known each other for several thousand years after all. You can't take advantage of me with the price of the flying snow sword, the patriarch chuckled. Of course, of course. At the same time, a black figure appeared outside the room where the ancestor of the Liu family cultivated silently. He said, politely, Ancestor, I've received news about the two people you wanted me to find. They appeared in Maple Leaf City recently, and they rode the flying ship of the Mo clan. Chapter 1686. As the ancestor of the Liu family roared out furiously, the heavy stone door to the secret room slowly opened with a heavy rumble. The gray-robed ancestor of the Liu family slowly made his way out with a sunken face. With every step he took, his presence would increase by a level. By the time he had completely emerged from the secret room, his presence had already flooded the surroundings, enveloping the entire sky and the entire Liu family. He had completely recovered from the wounds he had suffered at Jianchen's hands a few days ago. Not only that, but his strength had even reached his peak as well. He had even made great progress, reaching the peak of early god. He was only a step away from mid-god. All he lacked was the comprehension of laws. When the ancestor's presence enveloped the entire Liu clan, the faces of the patriarch and all the elders of the Liu clan changed. All of them could clearly sense the ancestor's fury through the presence. In particular, the presence hid a bone-chilling killing intent that chilled all of them to the bone. The ancestor is summoning us. The patriarch of the Liu family stared at where the ancestor cultivated. He was extremely stern, and with a flash he vanished in a single instant. He had hurried over as quickly as he could. At the same time, all the elders of the Liu clan hurried to the Liu clan's ancestor's place of seclusion. The ancestor of the Liu family stood outside the secret room with his hands behind his back with a sunken face. Several figures flashed before him. The patriarch of the Liu family and all the elders of the Liu family had basically arrived at the same time. Greetings to the ancestor. The patriarch of the Liu family and the 8 elders bowed towards the ancestor of the Liu family. The ancestor of the Liu family glanced past everyone coldly and said, Old man has already investigated. Liu Fei's betrayal is related to the Mo clan. The Mo clan bribed Liu Fei and made him steal the treasure of our Liu family. Our treasure has ended up in the hands of the Mo clan now. What? It was actually the Mo clan. We were just about to work with the Ando clan to deal with the Mo clan, but we never thought that the Mo clan would move against us first. Ancestor, we have to make the Mo clan pay for this, an elder said coldly. The patriarch of the Liu family's gaze became cold as well. He said, It looks like the Mo clan has become bolder with the addition of Xiu. They've actually extended their hands to our Liu family. Ancestor, I suggest we move against the Mo clan immediately. We can't give them any more time to catch their breaths. Xiyu's talent is very great, and she cultivates extremely quickly as well. If we keep wasting time like this, and Xiyu becomes a god, we'll only end up suffering heavy losses even if we work with the Ando clan. It won't be worth it. The patriarch is right. Ancestor, hurry up and give the order. We can't give the Mo clan any time to catch their breath. The other elders all requested for battle. They were all furious. The Mo clan had actually stolen the treasure of their Liu family. This could not be forgiven. No, we can't move against the Mo clan right now. Another mysterious expert has appeared in the Mo clan recently. He's very powerful. Old man fought with him a few days ago, and both of them ended up heavily injured. The ancestor of the Liu family said with a sunken face, What? The Mo clan has gained another god? The patriarch and several elders of the Liu clan were shocked. To them, this was the worst news they could get. No, he's not a god. Although old man can't see through his cultivation, he can tell that he's still a deity from the battle. It's just that his comprehension of laws is no weaker than old man's. Of course, that's not enough for him to heavily injure Old Man. What truly injured Old Man was that he used an extremely powerful secret treasure in the end, said the ancestor of the Liu family. His face was uneasy. Before anyone could say anything, the ancestor continued, the Mo clan has gained an expert like that. If we want to deal with them, we need to come up with a perfect plan. We can't act recklessly, or not only will we fail to destroy the Mo clan, but our Liu family will be doomed instead. You can leave first. Prepare for battle against the Mo clan. The patriarch and all the elders of the Liu family left. Send out everyone to keep a close eye on the Mo clan's every movement. Remember to keep it a secret. Don't let the Mo clan discover anything, said the ancestor of the Liu family. Yes, sir. The black figure replied politely. After bowing to the ancestor of the Liu family, he vanished into thin air. The ancestor of the Liu family stood where he was with his hands behind his back. He thought about the battle with Jianqin a few days ago. Whenever he thought about the profound sword qi that Jianqin had used in the end, fear would immediately appear in the ancestor's eyes. There was also a sliver of fear. What was that? Was it some secret treasure that Old Man doesn't know about? Or was it some kind of powerful technique? The ancestor of the Liu family murmured. Even now, he still had no idea what Jianqin's profound sword qi was. 7 majestic halls stood silently in the Mo clan. Origin realm guards stood around every single one of them, silently guarding the place. Only godhood elders of Mo clan could live in halls like these. Xinjian currently sat on a jade bed in the 7th hall. He held over a dozen thumb-sized, low-grade, divine crystals in each hand. Xinjian rapidly absorbed the pure origin energy within the divine crystals, turning into strands of pure energy that entered Xinjian's body, becoming a part of his cultivation. There was not a lot of origin energy within the low-grade divine crystals. Very soon, the divine crystals shattered from the loss of all their origin energy. Xinjian slowly opened his eyes as well. He looked at Jianqin, who sat before a table nearby, and ate leisurely. He said, the origin energy that these low-grade divine crystals can provide is extremely limited. If I want to break through to mid-deity, just over 100,000 of them will be nowhere near enough. As a matter of fact, they're not even a 10th or even 100th of the origin energy I need to reach mid-deity. Jianqin was not surprised by that. Over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals sounded like a lot, but in reality it was only equivalent to over 1,000 mid-grade divine crystals or around a dozen high-grade divine crystals. Chapter 1687. Due to a slip of the pen in the previous chapter, I misstated that the ancestor of the Liu family was an early deity. The light in Xinjian's eyes immediately flickered when he saw the box in Jianqin's hand protected by layers of formations. He was extremely curious about the treasure of the Liu family. These formations are indeed very powerful. If I were alone, it would be extremely difficult for me to get through them. But if we work together, we'll be able to get through them in a single day, said Jianqin. With that, a dazzling white light immediately appeared in his right hand. It condensed into a powerful strand of sword qi in a single instance, which he pressed against the box loudly. Powerful origin energy pulsed within the white light. He directly used his cultivation as a deity and the power of the laws of the sword to fend off the formations on the box. This is the Mo clan. Be careful of controlling your power. Don't alarm anyone else, said Jianqin. He also began to condense the power of the laws of the sword in his right hand, condensing it into a dazzling sword just like Xinjian. He attacked the formations on the box. The formations on the box immediately began to flicker when the two of them attacked. All the formations were activated at that moment, unleashing their greatest power. They formed powerful defenses that blocked the attacks from Jianqin and Xinjian. At the same time, the origin energy in the surroundings was drawn in by the formations, rapidly gathering towards the formations on the box. It was constantly absorbed by the formations to replenish their energy. After all, in order for a formation to function, it also required energy. Although the formation on the treasure box could last for quite some time on its own, there were many formations set up on the treasure box, and one of them just so happened to be a formation that gathered origin energy. As soon as the formations on the box began to absorb the origin energy in the surroundings, Genshin understood that it was impossible for them to not attract the attention of the Mo clan. The formations on the box gathered the origin energy extremely quickly, let alone godhood experts. Even all the origin realm experts in the Mo clan could clearly sense the changes in the origin energy in the surroundings. However, Genshin and Xinjian did not stop because of this. Instead, they began to work as hard as they could to get through the formations on the box. This was because the hall they resided in was equivalent to Xinjian's personal residence. Without Xinjian's permission, even the patriarch could not enter as he wished, let alone the other elders of the Mo clan. After all, godhood experts possessed extremely great statuses in the Mo clan, even if they had only just reached godhood. As expected, as the changes in the origin energy in the surroundings appeared, the elders who were cultivating in the other halls all opened their eyes. They looked towards the 7th hall. Looks like Xinjian's talent is very impressive. He can actually cause such a disturbance when he cultivates. His rate of absorbing origin energy is nowhere close to mine. Absorbing origin energy? Sigh, it's already been several thousand years since I've experienced something like this. I've already been stuck at mid-deity for several thousand years. It's just a pity that I've never been able to make any progress in my comprehension of laws, allowing me to reach late deity. The elders of the Mo clan murmured. They mistook the disturbance from Xinjian and Genshin's work, as Xinjian was cultivating. At the same time, the patriarch looked toward Xinjian's residence. He could not help but sigh in admiration as he sensed the rate at which origin energy gathered. I really was right. Xinjian's talent really is extraordinary. Aside from you, there's probably no one else in our Mo clan who can match him. I need to rope him in. If he becomes the 7th elder of our Mo clan, perhaps we'll have enough strength to move into the provincial city in 1,000 years. That's only if the Lu family and the Ando clan don't make trouble for our Mo clan. In a mountain range several million kilometers away from the Mo clan, there was a dense cluster of buildings. They were made of black bricks and white tiles as well as jade buildings. There were pools of clear water and mist lingering in the air. Cranes flew in the sky while precious spiritual beasts ran on the ground. They would cry out from time to time. From afar, it seemed like a paradise. This was where the Ando clan resided. The Ando clan was the same as the Mo clan, the Lu family, and the Otomo sword sect. They were one of the 4 great powers in the region. However, compared to the other 3 organizations, the Ando clan was extremely particular about where they lived. Under their purposeful arrangements, the Ando clan seemed like a paradise. Of course, the Ando clan had paid quite a hefty price to make the clan like this. At this moment, the ancestor of the Lu family sat with a ruddy old man in a secret room within the Ando clan. They were talking sternly. The ruddy old man was the ancestor of the Ando clan, Andogu. What? The treasure of your Lu family has already ended up in the hands of the Mo clan? Lu Tian, is this true? The ancestor of the Ando clan, Andogu, stared at the ancestor of the Lu family in shock. Disbelief filled his face. The ancestor of the Lu family's face sank. Heavy killing intent filled his eyes as he said coldly, Andogu, do you think old man would joke about something like this? The Mo clan secretly bribed Lu Fei. Lu Fei used a powerful formation disc to trap old man before stealing the treasure and escaping. However, when Lu Fei fled from our Lu family, he was already heavily injured. When he met up with the people of the Mo clan, they took the treasure from Lu Fei before killing him. They wanted to silence him. That way, our Lu family would have no idea who bribed Lu Fei. However, The Emo clan never thought that Old Man would break through the formation in time and catch up. He learnt who the mastermind was, so their plan to steal the treasure from our Lu family without anyone knowing fell through. Ando Gu became stern when he heard that. He said furiously, "I never thought that the Emo clan would be so ambitious. They've gone too far." The ancestor of the Lu family stared at Ando Gu and said sternly, "Since the Emo clan has already extended their hand to our Lu family, there must be people they've bribed in your Ando clan as well. Perhaps some of your godhood elders have already joined the Emo clan and are secretly watching over the treasure of your Ando clan. Once the opportunity arises, your Ando clan will suffer the same fate as our Lu family." Ando Gu slammed the table viciously and snorted coldly. "It looks like the Emo clan has grown up with the addition of Shiyu. They want to fend off our two clans all by themselves." "No, the Emo clan doesn't just have Shiyu. They also have a mysterious godhood expert. It was this mysterious godhood expert who took the treasure from Lu Fei. Old Man fought with him, but he failed to gain any advantage. We failed to retrieve the treasure either," the ancestor of the Lu family said emotionlessly. Ando Gu was surprised. "What? The Emo clan actually has such a powerful expert, where even you failed to gain any advantage. Just where did the Emo clan recruit them from?" Chapter 1688. Ando Gu gently tapped the jade table before him as the light in his eyes flickered. His face was uneasy as he weighed just how great of a loss the Ando clan would suffer if they started a war with the Emo clan right now. However, Ando Gu only hesitated for a while before finally making up his mind. He stared at the ancestor of the Lu family with shining eyes and said sternly, "Lu Tian, when do we move against the Emo clan?" Ando Gu also understood the severity of the matter. If Shiyu had not appeared in the Emo clan, if they did not have that powerful, mysterious expert, the Ando clan and the Lu family could take their time in dealing with the Emo clan and minimize their losses. However, with Shiyu's appearance and the mysterious expert's existence, the Emo clan's overall strength had increased by a lot. If they continued to delay their plans, the Emo clan would become even more difficult to deal with once Shiyu became a god. Even if they worked together, they would not be the Mo clan's opponent. As a result, they had to bring forward their plans against the Emo clan, and the sooner the better. After a moment of thought, the ancestor of the Lu family said, "Before we move, we need to make sufficient preparations to prevent anyone from the Emo clan from escaping. We also can't let the Emo clan leak the news of Duanmu Divine King's jade. To do that, we need a formation that can envelop a radius of 10,000 kilometers, and the formation needs to be able to withstand the attacks of gods. There's no such powerful formation in the Dong'an province, so I need to go to the royal capital. The royal capital is very far away from here, so a round trip will probably take quite some time." Lu Tian set off immediately. "If you don't have enough divine crystals, my Ando clan can provide you with some," said Ando Gu. With a clear crack in the 7th hall of the Mo clan, Jian Qin and Xin Jian worked together. After an entire day, they finally destroyed all the formations on the box. With the destruction of the formations, the origin energy that constantly gathered towards them came to a halt as well. It gradually returned to its original state. The elders and patriarch of the Emo clan only believed that Xin Jian had stopped cultivating when this happened, so they did not think too much about it. This was because a godhood expert would indeed cause a disturbance like this when they absorbed origin energy to cultivate. In the past, when the god ancestor of the Emo clan absorbed origin energy to cultivate, the disturbance was even greater. Jian Qin and Shen Jian both looked at the box in their hands eagerly. What was inside was a treasure of the Lu family. The value of the item inside was obvious when it could be considered a treasure by a clan with a god. Is it a cultivation method, a battle skill, an artifact, or is it some other valuable item? At that moment, both Jian Qin and Xin Jian began to guess inside. Afterwards, under their eager gazes, Jian Qin slowly opened the box. The moment the box was opened, a dazzling light shot out. Mixed within the light was a mysterious aura that caused people's souls to tremble violently. It spread out in all directions. Fortunately, Jianqin and Xinjian were prepared before they opened the box. They cast down layers of formations in the surroundings to prevent the presence from leaking out. Inside the box, there was a dark green ancient jade that was about half the size of a palm. It was emitting a dazzling and brilliant light. The ancient jade had an irregular shape. At a glance, one could tell that this jade was incomplete and incomplete. This is the treasure of the Liu family. A sliver of surprise appeared in both Jianqin and Shenzhen's eyes as they stared at the jade. Jianqin could not help but extend his hand to pick up the jade. However, as soon as his hand came in contact with the jade, a shocking pulse that made his soul tremble immediately radiated from the jade. It made his body tremble violently. The presence was just far too powerful and shocking. Even with Jianqin's current strength, he felt like he was as weak as an ant before the presence. This piece of jade is not simple. Jianqin became stern. He stared at the jade for a while before handing it to Xinjian. Xinjian held the jade as his body trembled violently. Shock filled his eyes. Clearly, he experienced the same thing as Jianqin. This contains the power of the Divine King's soul. Suddenly, Fairy Haoyue's voice rang out from nowhere. The power of the Divine King's soul? Jianqin and Shenzhen immediately became surprised when they heard that. This jade was clearly left behind by a Divine King. The power of the soul he left in the jade has already fused with the jade, causing it to change. It's just a pity that the jade is incomplete, said Fairy Haoyue. Fairy Haoyue, do you know what this piece of jade is used for? Jianqin asked humbly. There were many things he did not know about the saint's world. While Fairy Haoyue was a knowledgeable person in his eyes, she knew many things that he did not know. Fairy Haoyue pondered for a while before replying slowly. In the saint's world, there are indeed a few people who will store a sliver of their power or the power of the soul in an item and bestow it to their juniors. It's a symbol of status, and it's also a method of protection. Once an important junior encounters danger, the power or the power of the soul left behind by the senior will appear and protect the junior. Thirdly, many experts will cast down layers of formations where they cultivate, making their dwellings impregnable. The defenses will be so great that even they will struggle to break through them. In order to make it easier for their juniors to enter and exit the formations, they will fuse a sliver of their presence or a sliver of the power of the soul into an item to make it easier for them to enter and exit the formations. Not only has the power of the soul completely fused with the jade in your hand, but it's also in a shattered state. If I've guessed correctly, this jade is probably the key to entering a certain formation, and the Divine King who left behind this jade is probably dead as well. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to not take back the jade that contained the power of his soul. Jianqin and Shenzhen both beamed when they heard that. They asked, Fairy Haoyue, are you saying that this jade is the key to a Divine King's dwelling? Chapter 1689. Jianqin was greatly disappointed when he heard Fairy Haoyue's explanation. Originally, he had thought that the treasure of the Liu family would be something extremely impressive. Even if it was useless to him, its value would be unfathomable. He could sell it for a large amount of divine crystals. These were all cultivation resources that could allow Shenzhen to break through quickly. However, he had never thought that the so-called treasure of the Liu family would only be a piece of broken jade. Even though it was extremely likely for the jade to be the key to the Divine King's dwelling, it would be useless if he did not collect all the pieces. Moreover, even if he did collect all the pieces, he still needed to know the exact location of the Divine King's dwelling. Otherwise, it would still be useless. As a result, the piece of jade was equivalent to a useless rock in Jianqin's eyes. Even if he auctioned it off, he probably would not be able to get a good price. Esteemed Senior Xinjian, The patriarch and elder Shiyu have come to visit." At this moment, a guard's polite voice rang out from outside the hall. Shen Jian immediately removed the formations in the surroundings, while Jianqin dismissed his thoughts as well. He quickly placed the jade back into the box and stowed it away in his space ring. Only after doing that did Shen Jian and Jianqin make their way out. They personally invited the patriarch and elder Shiyu into the hall. They were extremely polite. After all, the two of them were in the patriarch's territory right now. The patriarch had already shown them enough respect by getting a guard to report his visit. "May I ask if Brother Xinjian is used to living here? If there's anything that displeases Brother Xinjian, please don't hold back. Just tell me directly, and I'll get someone to correct it immediately." The patriarch clasped his hands at Shunjian and Jianqin and smiled. He did not put on any airs of a patriarch at all. "Thank you for your hospitality, Manor Head. We are very satisfied with this place," Xinjian replied politely. After exchanging some pleasantries, a long, wooden box appeared in the patriarch's hand. The box was protected by layers of formations and pulsed with powerful energy from time to time. Even ignoring the fact that the item in the box was definitely extraordinary, just the box itself was made from an extremely precious type of wood. It was priceless. "I've specially prepared this for Brother Jianqin. May I ask if you like it, Brother Jianqin?" The patriarch passed the box to Jianqin and smiled. "The Mo clan, this." Jianqin hesitated as he stared at the wooden box that was pushed to his chest. Although he was unable to see what was inside due to the protection of formations, he found it rather inappropriate to accept a gift from someone else after just a few days in the Mo clan. Although he knew that the patriarch was trying to rope in him and Shen Jian, he did not plan on staying in the Mo clan for long. Seeing how Jianqin hesitated, the patriarch removed the formations on the box casually and directly pushed it into Jianqin's hands. He smiled. "Brother Jianqin, you better open it first." After a moment of hesitation, Jianqin made up his mind and opened the box decisively. Immediately, a hazy, white glow emerged from the box, and a 4-meter-long flying sword lay inside. "This is the flying snow sword of the Maple Leaf Pavilion." Jianqin's eyes narrowed. The patriarch chuckled aloud. "The Maple Leaf Pavilion is the property of the city lord of Maple Leaf City, and I'm good friends with the city lord. I learnt that Brother Jianqin had taken a fancy to the flying snow sword, so I bought it and gave it to Brother Jianqin as a gift. I hope Brother Jianqin likes it." Jianqin remained calm. He slowly closed the wooden box and pushed the flying snow sword back to the patriarch. He said, "Patriarch, this gift is far too valuable. Please forgive me for not accepting it." "Thank you for your gift, Patriarch. I'll accept it for Jianqin." However, as soon as Jianqin finished speaking, Shen Jian snatched the wooden box away. Jianqin was surprised. He looked at Xinjian and seemed rather troubled. The patriarch was in a great mood after giving away the gift. He stayed behind to chat with Jianqin and Xinjian for a very long time before leaving with Shiyu. Although the patriarch had never mentioned anything about roping in Jianqin and Xinjian, they all understood many things. They just did not say it aloud. Jianqin and Xinjian learnt a lot more about the region from the patriarch. In particular, they gained a more detailed understanding of the strength of the 4 great clans in the region. They knew how many godhood elders there were in the 4 great clans, as well as some information about them. Jianqin and Xinjian even gained a rough understanding of the Dong and province, but they did not know the details. "Jianqin, take the flying snow sword. Let's not worry about whether we owe them a favor for now. The matter at hand is to increase our strength as quickly as possible so that we can deal with the ancestor of the Liu family. As for the favor we owe the Mo clan, we can use the territory of the Liu family to pay it back," said Xinjian. Once the ancestor of the Liu family was killed, the Liu family would no longer be able to maintain their status as one of the 4 great clans without a god. With the assistance of Shen Jian and Jianqin, it would be a piece of cake for the Mo clan to take over the territory of the Liu family, perfectly. Jianqin hesitated for a while before accepting the flying snow sword in the end. He was unable to use the azulate swords, so his strength was greatly affected. Now that he had the flying snow sword, his battle prowess would return to his peak condition. The Lu clan is also in charge of a divine essence mine. Every year, the Lu clan can mine a lot of divine essences from this mine. Shenzhen, you can cultivate with the hundreds of thousands of divine essences you have. I will go out and find some divine essences for you. Once you reach mid-deity, we'll immediately move against the Lu family, Jianqin said to Shenzhen. His voice was filled with heavy killing intent. Shenzhen stared at Jianqin strangely. He smiled gently. Jianqin, are you planning on targeting the divine crystal mine of the Lu family? The corner of Jianqin's lips curled slightly. He smiled mysteriously and said, once the ancestor of the Lu family dies anyway, the wealth of the Lu family will all belong to us. I'm just taking back a little earlier. Then be careful. Don't forget that you still have some problems. Don't worry. Unless a god personally comes, no one can force me to that point. The ancestor of the Lu family shouldn't be able to recover so quickly. Even if he recovers, he'll be heavily injured if I use my profound sword qi. He won't have the strength to chase after me. Jianqin sighed gently when he reached there. It's a pity that I almost killed the ancestor of the Lu family last time. The dark cloud mountains were located within the territory of the Lu family. The mountains were called this because they were enveloped by a layer of thick, dark clouds all year round. Although the dark cloud mountains seemed extremely ordinary from the outside, where there was nothing special about it apart from the origin energy that was a little denser, the Lu family had sent a large number of people to guard this place. Basically, a quarter of the Lu family's forces had been gathered there. There would even be godhood elders who would patrol the place from time to time. Clearly, they placed great importance on this place. This was because there was a divine crystal mine deep beneath the dark cloud mountains. Even though it was only a small, low-grade divine crystal mine, it was still an extremely great fortune to the Lu family. As a result, the security of the dark cloud mountains was extremely tight. At the center of the Black Cloud mountain range, there was a massive underground abyss. At the bottom of this abyss, there was a flat piece of land. On this land, there were large and small stone houses that were arranged in an orderly manner. Many bare-chested cultivators were shuttling back and forth, adding a touch of vitality to this abyss that was shrouded in darkness all year round. Chapter 1690. Other than the miners who specialized in extracting divine crystals, there were many cultivators in standard armor scattered in the surroundings. They were all emotionless as they coldly stared at the surroundings. They gave off extremely powerful presences to the miners. The people in standard armor were all at the origin realm, and there were quite a few at reciprocity among them. These people were the defensive force of the Lu family stationed here. They were a quarter of the core force of the Lu family. Among these guards, only a small portion of them were patrolling around. Most of them were standing in a specific position, like stone sculptures, not moving at all. If one looked carefully, it would not be difficult to discover that if the positions of these people were connected, they would form an extremely powerful killing formation. A killing formation composed of so many origin realm experts was obviously extremely powerful. Even deities would struggle to gain any benefits if they came here. Among the stone buildings that stood in the depths of the abyss, there was a stone tower that was 100 meters tall. Not only was this stone tower the tallest building here, but there was also a powerful energy fluctuation that faintly radiated from the stone tower. This stone tower was clearly extraordinary. At this moment, there was a short and skinny old man with a hooked nose standing at the top of the stone tower. He was looking down from above. His somewhat harsh lips would occasionally reveal a feminine smile, giving him a crafty feeling. Being the supervisor here really is a lucrative job. I can earn a great amount of money every year. Even the godhood elders of the clan don't earn as much as here. Haha, I only need to be here for 1,000 years. No, not 1,000 years. I only need 100 years, and I'll be able to earn a huge fortune, thought the short man. The short old man thought to himself. He liked this place very much. To him, this place was as beautiful as heaven. Of course, he did not like the environment here. Instead, he liked the divine crystal mine. As the supervisor, he possessed the greatest authority here. He was in charge of everything here. All the divine crystals that the miner's mind had to be handed to him, and he would then be responsible for handing them over to the Liu family. Apart from that, some miners would leave behind a small portion of the divine crystals they handed over to the supervisor in order to get a little bit of special treatment. As a result, even if the supervisor didn't do anything, he would still receive a huge amount of money just from the bribes he received. It's just a pity that only a tiny portion of the divine crystals that the miners give me actually belongs to me. I have to hand over the rest to the elders, the short old man sighed gently. He was unwilling to accept this, but he also felt a sense of helplessness. The Liu family was extremely strict with the supervisors of the mine. They would never allow anyone to embezzle the divine crystals. The reason why he dared to do so was because he had the support of the elders of the Liu family. As a result, even if the patriarch of the Liu family knew about this, he could only turn a blind eye out of consideration for the elders. At this moment, the miners below suddenly fell into an uproar. At the same time, a strand of extremely pure origin energy appeared. The miners below, as well as a few patrolling guards in standard armor, quickly gathered together. They were all shocked as they discussed something intensely. The short old man's face turned cold as he flew down from the stone tower. At the same time, he said in a condescending tone, "What's the commotion? Disperse and go do what you need to do." A few of the guards immediately became displeased when they heard the short old man's words. The short old man was not powerful, only at late reciprocity. On the other hand, some of the guards had already reached the peak of reciprocity, so they did not take the old man seriously. However, they did not dare to offend him because he had the support of a godhood elder. "It's high-grade God. It's high-grade God. Sir, someone has excavated a high-grade God." A few miners ran over excitedly. One of them held a fist-sized divine crystal in his hand. It shone like a gemstone, and it radiated with extremely pure origin energy. The short old man became stunned. He stared at the fist-sized divine crystal blankly as disbelief flooded his face. This was because the Dark Cloud Mountains were only a small, low-grade divine crystal mine. Usually, only low-grade divine crystals could be mined from a mine like this. If one was lucky, one could come across a few mid-grade divine crystals from time to time. As for high-grade divine crystals, it was impossible for them to appear in a mere low-grade divine crystal mine. Or minus, is it really a high-grade divine crystal? The short old man was dumbfounded. He had never seen a high-grade divine crystal in his entire life. Even mid-grade divine crystals were only the size of a thumb, yet the high-grade divine crystal before him was the size of a fist. The standard unit of measurement for divine crystals was a thumb-sized cube. It was about a centimeter in length, width, and height. However, if this fist-sized piece of high-grade divine crystal were to be divided, it would be dozens or even hundreds of high-grade divine crystals. The short old man snatched the high-grade divine crystal. Greed flashed through his eyes, but it was extinguished very quickly. He understood extremely well that if it was a low-grade divine crystal, he would be able to take some of it. However, if it was a high-grade divine crystal, he could not touch it at all. Otherwise, even the elders behind him would not be able to protect him. I need to return to the clan immediately and report this to the patriarch. Since high-grade divine crystals have actually appeared in the Dark Cloud Mountains, this definitely isn't a low-grade divine crystal mine. The short old man was extremely excited. If he reported this, it would be a great merit. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying pulse of energy suddenly appeared. The pitch-black sky in the depths of the dark cloud mountains suddenly lit up. The sky became red in a single instant as flames burned, blotting out the sun and enveloping the entire mountain range. The temperature in the surroundings suddenly skyrocketed. Chapter 1691. The short old man laughed disdainfully when he saw how serious the captain of the guards was. He mocked. "Captain Fong, why are you so nervous? Don't forget that the formation here was personally set up by the ancestor. Even a godly state expert would find it difficult to break it." However, before the short old man had even finished speaking, a deafening rumble rang out from the sky. The protective formation that had just been activated shattered loudly in less than a second. At this moment, whether it was the short old man or the Origin Realm guards, they all stared at the shattered formation in shock. Their hearts churned. Even deities would struggle to get through the protective formation. It could last for a while even if it was attacked by several deities, yet it had shattered in a single moment. God! At that moment, this thought suddenly appeared in many people's heads. In their opinion, only gods could break through the protective formation so easily. Pure white snow began to fall from the sky at that moment, turning into a flurry of snow very soon. Snow swirled in the air as cold winds whistled. At that moment, the depths of the dark cloud mountains seemed to have fallen into an icy cavern. The ground was covered in a thick layer of snow in the blink of an eye. In the sky that was covered in snow, a clear sword hum suddenly rang out. A sharp and powerful sword chi radiated with dazzling white light, breaking through the interweaving snow and shooting down. The chasm began to shake. All the stone huts there floated into the air at that moment, revolving around the stone tower. They quickly formed a defensive formation. Boom! When the sword chi struck the defensive formation, it immediately erupted with a boom. The entire chasm shook violently as powerful energy ripples wreaked havoc. Huge cracks appeared on the walls of the chasm as rocks tumbled down, kicking up a cloud of dust as they smashed into the ground. The formation formed by all the stone huts and the tower managed to block the sword chi, but a tiny crack appeared on all the stone huts. As for the tower, a floor directly collapsed, reducing it to nothingness. All the miners and guards of the Liu family paled at this sight. Their hearts trembled. While they were stationed here, they had encountered many people who had set their sights on this place. However, they had never encountered such a powerful opponent. The formation that they were so proud of and even treated as their life to protect was actually so fragile. It could not even withstand a single blow. "Get into the Celestial Dipper formation," Captain Fong cried out in a deep voice. Immediately, the guards, who stood in a special position like statues, began to move at the same time. A complicated and mysterious formation appeared under their feet. All the formations merged together and formed a powerful formation in an instant. I hope the Celestial Dipper formation can last a little longer. Captain Fong had already placed all his hopes on the formation. The Celestial Dipper formation was the final line of defense. If it collapsed as well, they would no longer have the power to face godhood experts. The patriarch of the Liu family currently sat in the cavern as he held a secret meeting with the upper echelon of the Liu family. Ever since the Liu family learnt that the Mo clan had taken away their treasure, they had entered a state of high vigilance. As a matter of fact, the upper echelon of the Liu family had already begun to silently gather all the power of the Liu family. They were waiting for the ancestors' orders so that they could directly attack the Mo clan. Of course, in order to prevent the Mo clan from discovering them, all of this was carried out secretly. Even a few people with some status in the Liu family had no idea about the changes that had occurred in the Liu family recently. They could only vaguely sense that the atmosphere in the Liu family had suddenly become rather heavy, as if a storm was brewing. However, many people believed that this heavy atmosphere was caused by Liu Fei's betrayal. At this moment, the patriarch's face changed as he presided over the meeting. With a flip of his hand, a golden jade talisman shattered. The patriarch's face suddenly changed when he saw the jade talisman. He immediately said through a communication technique, "An emergency has occurred in the Dark Cloud Mountains. They've sent the highest level of distress signal. Elders, may I ask if anyone is willing to pay a visit to the Dark Cloud Mountains?" The Lu clan had 9 majestic palaces, which represented the 9 godly state elders of the Lu clan. However, one of the 9 palaces had already been reduced to ruins, and only 8 of them were still standing. There was a deity elder cultivating in each of the 8 halls. When they heard the patriarch's message, all of their eyes immediately snapped open. After a series of discussions, 3 deities flew out together in the end, hurrying towards the Dark Cloud Mountains. The snow in the Dark Cloud Mountains became heavier and heavier, basically blotting out the sun. Within the snow, a second strand of sword chi shot down with blinding light, striking the stone tower below. The sword chi was even more powerful than before. Boom! The stone tower began to tremble violently. This time, half of the tower turned into dust. Even a third of the stone houses around the stone tower followed in the footsteps of the stone tower, turning into dust that drifted down from the sky. As for the remaining 2/3 of the stone houses, although they did not shatter, they were covered in cracks that resembled spider webs. Swish! Then, the third sword chi suddenly appeared. It intertwined with the flying snow in the sky and bombarded the stone tower like a bolt of lightning with irresistible force. The third strand of sword chi was even more powerful than the second. After enduring the attacks of the 3 strands of sword chi, the formation that was said to be able to block the attacks of several deities finally collapsed. The remaining stone towers and all the remaining stone huts were reduced to dust in the air. However, the third strand of sword chi had yet to disperse. It still possessed some power, so it did not slow down at all. It continued to strike the heavens dipper formation below. With a boom, all the origin realm cultivators in the formation trembled violently. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the chasm, causing thick cracks to appear in the surrounding cliffs. A few places had already collapsed. The entire world shook as if it was the end of the world. "Sir, this is the territory of the Lu family. Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of our ancestor by offending the Lu family for a mere low-grade, divine crystal mine?" The old man called out to the sky with a pale face. It was impossible for deities to destroy the 2 formations so quickly. Only gods possessed the ability to do so. He really couldn't figure it out in his heart. The heavenly deity realm was a figure at the level of the old ancestor. How lofty was their status? Why would they personally take action to rob a mere low-grade mine? Although the appearance of high-grade divine crystals here meant that the mine was definitely not low-grade, he refused to believe that the gods attacking the formations of the Lu family knew about the high-grade divine crystals. This was because the high-grade divine crystals had just been mined. It was impossible for the news to spread so quickly. The response he received was an extremely powerful streak of light. A 4-foot-long flying sword was hidden within the light, and the power of the laws of the sword revolved around the flying sword. It collided with the heavens dipper formation with devastating might. The strike was clearly much more powerful than any of the sword chi from before. The heavens dipper formation, cast down by so many origin realm cultivators, was as fragile as tofu before the strike, directly collapsing. All the origin realm cultivators vomited blood as their faces became extremely pale. They became haggard, and half of them directly fainted. This was especially true for the spirit formations beneath their feet. Popping sounds could be heard as they exploded, creating huge craters in the ground. The snow that filled the sky gradually came to a stop. High up in the sky, a dazzling white light was shining. It was slowly drifting down to the underground abyss. As for the white light, it was not real light. It was an incomparably sharp sword light. Within the sword light, one could vaguely see a slender figure. He seemed to become a sun when he appeared. The snow-white light around him illuminated the dark abyss. The underground chasm fell silent at that moment. Whether it was the miners or the origin realm guards of the Lu family, they all stared at the figure that slowly descended in fear. None of them dared to say a single word. None of them chose to flee, because this was the depths of the underground, and there was only one exit. However, this exit had already been occupied by the powerful enemy that was already at the heavenly god realm in their eyes. The person who had attacked the Lu family's divine crystal mine was Jianqin. Chapter 1692. With Jianqin's words, the entire chasm fell silent. Some people even became stunned when they heard Jianqin's words. In their eyes, Jianqin was a supreme god. He stood on the same level as the ancestors of the 4 organizations that ruled over the region. His status was so great that it was extremely difficult for them, who were only at reciprocity at most, to even see him. However, at this moment, the person who should be a supreme expert in their eyes had actually personally come to rob the divine crystal mine. He did not care about his status as a god at all. His actions immediately stunned many people. Esteemed senior, this mine belongs to the Lu family. The ancestor of our Lu family places great importance on this mine. Moreover, it's only a low-grade mine, so only low-grade divine crystals can be mined. Mid-grade divine crystals are extremely rare, so a senior like you must not be interested in these divine crystals. The old man carefully bowed and said. At the same time, he paid close attention to Jianqin's reaction. After he finished speaking, his forehead was covered with a thin layer of sweat. Although the Lu family possessed a god, he had never seen one before. The senior before him was the first time he had seen a god. However, Jianqin was enveloped by a layer of light, so no one could see his appearance. The reason why the short old man brought up the Lu family's ancestor was because he hoped to intimidate this senior and instill fear in him. After all, the Lu family placed great importance on this mine. Without any exaggeration, the mine in the Dark Cloud Mountains was the lifeblood of the Lu family. They could not afford to lose it. Jianqin's eyes turned cold. He gently swung the flying snow sword in his hand, and with a flash, a silver-white sword chi shot toward the old man with lightning-like speed as if it had fused with the snow. The old man was only at reciprocity. He was quite a powerful expert among the guards. But before Jianqin, who could even put up a fight against gods, he was as weak as an ant. He was unable to put up any resistance at all, let alone putting up any resistance. He did not even have the time to react to Jianqin's casual sword chi. The short old man didn't come back to his senses at all, but he suddenly felt a heart-wrenching pain in his right arm. He couldn't help but let out a shrill scream. Blood sprayed out from his right arm like a fountain. His entire right arm had been cut off by the sword chi. This is only a warning. I don't want to say the same thing a second time. Jianqin said coldly. Heavy killing intent filled his voice, warning everyone present that he was not afraid of the ancestor of the Lu family, nor was he afraid of offending the Lu family. Jianqin's merciless act of severing the old man's arm immediately made the expressions of all the guards of the Lu family change. However, none of them dared to say anything. Please spare my life, senior. I'll hand over all the divine crystals I've excavated. Senior, please be magnanimous and spare this lowly one's worthless life. There are a total of over 5,000 low-grade divine crystals in this spatial ring. I originally planned to hand them over to the chief steward. Now this lowly one will offer all these divine crystals to Senior. The miners in charge of excavating the divine crystals handed over their space rings without any hesitation. Although they had excavated quite a lot of divine crystals, the divine crystals did not belong to them. They had to hand them all over. As a result, whether they gave the divine crystals to the Lu family or to someone else, it was the same to them. They would not lose anything. Over 1,000 miners removed their space rings and placed them before Jianqin politely. Not only did none of them hide a single piece of low-grade divine crystal, but many of them even seemed to take pleasure in the Liu family's misfortune. Most of them had offended someone from the Liu family, or they had been captured for some other reason and were forced to work here. Naturally, they did not have a good impression of the Liu family. Now that they saw the Liu family suffer such a huge loss, they naturally felt extremely happy. As the miners handed over their space rings, a large pile of identical space rings was piled up before Jianqin. Every single space ring contained quite a lot of divine crystals. The short old man and the captain of the Liu family watched this unfold with ashen faces. Even though they were extremely furious, they dared not say anything. They did not even dare to show their anger on their faces. Right now, they only hoped that their ancestor would learn about what had happened and hurry over. Very soon, all the miners had handed over their space rings. Jianqin looked at the pile of space rings and nodded in satisfaction. It seemed like his plan to rob the Liu family of their divine crystal mine had gone much smoother than he had expected. Jianqin looked at the short old man and sneered. "Looks like you're the leader here, so you must have quite a lot of divine crystals on you. Hand over your space ring as well." The old man's face immediately became extremely ugly. After hesitating for a while, all he could do was grit his teeth and remove his space ring reluctantly. Although the things inside were all their belongings, compared to their lives, these worldly possessions were nothing. With a wave of his hand, the pile of space rings around him suddenly vanished. Jianqin had collected all of them. He could already tell that many of the miners had been imprisoned by the Liu family to mine divine crystals for them. Even their space rings were specially issued by the Liu family, so he obviously would not leave them to the Liu family. "Senior, a high-grade divine crystal has just been excavated from the mine. A mine that can produce high-grade divine crystals is definitely not a low-grade mine. It's mid-grade at the very least, or even high-grade." At this moment, someone among the miners called out loudly. At this moment, one of the miners called out loudly. He was one of the miners who had been captured and imprisoned by the Liu family. He had long accumulated a monstrous hatred for the Liu family, so he was eager to cause more trouble for them. A mid-grade divine crystal mine? Jianqin's eyes lit up. He stared at the miner and asked, "What's your name?" The miner immediately became excited when he heard Jianqin ask for his name. He ignored the old man's murderous gaze and said politely, "Senior, I am Yixing. 500 years ago, I accidentally offended a clansman of the Liu family, so I was captured and brought here to mine divine crystals for them.